Hey, if you're a real estate brokerage owner or a team leader and you're looking to grow and scale your business through agent attraction and recruiting, I got a special gift for you guys. Check out in the show notes, I got a link to the agent attraction guide that helped us as a brokerage in the last 4 years to hire over 360 agents into our company. It's free of charge. It will ask you for your name and your email address. That's about it. But it's right there, and it's a step-by-step guide in getting you from, let's say, 5 agents to 40 agents to 50 agents to whatever number of agents that you want to bring out into your company. Check it out. What's going on, my guys? Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the LNK Show, brought to you by Modern Day Brokerage. We got a very, very, very special guest today, guys. Someone who is been in real estate for about 12 years now. Personally sells lots of homes, anywhere between 40 to 50 homes every single year. He also flips on top of it 24 homes a year. He's got a team of 15 agents, and he owns 12 rental properties, 3 short-term rentals, a storage facility, 2 franchises of Commission Express for real estate agents. And I mean, he's got houses everywhere, I think. He's got more houses than I think, like, most of the people have houses in general. Got a great friend of mine, is a top-notch realtor here in the Valley, Lenny Behie.
Thank you very much. I appreciate having me.
Awesome. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
All right, so tell us kind of like how it all started. I think you're mentioning to me that you first kind of got into the real estate back in 2012, right? That's when you got your license.
Yeah, that's when I got my license. I actually started getting real estate in 2008.
2008.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had an air conditioning company back then. I started in 99. And as a matter of fact, our office was literally just on the other side of the wash from right here. Mm-hmm. And so I started buying rental properties and doing a little bit of fix and flip in 2008 and 9 until I sold my air conditioning company in 2012. And then I took about a year off, didn't really do much of anything. And then end of 12, I thought, actually a friend of mine was like, hey, I'm going to go my real estate license. I know you already have all these properties, whatever. Maybe we should go together. I was like, I don't know, I guess, whatever, like, you're going, so I guess it makes it easy. So
yeah.
So we went and got our license and got licensed in early 13. And just kind of hit the ground running at that point. It was like, all right, well, I'd already learned how to run a business, right, from the air conditioning side. Mm-hmm. I already knew how to advertise. I knew what to do. And so I started advertising and started pushing on that side. And then it just blew up. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even handle all of these leads that are coming in.
Yeah.
All the sales. I was overwhelmed. I just took a year off. I wasn't even working and was like, I can't do all this. So
yeah,
I was like, talk to my broker. I talked to George Lawton. I talked to a bunch of different guys in the industry and said, like, what do I do? Right? Like, I don't want to not take these leads, but at the same point in time, I don't want to kill myself. I just got done building a business, for years in the air conditioning side. So anyhow, I decided to start a team and start running it. And so it's just kind of been like that. And then I really was just wanting to fix and flip. It's all I wanted to do with maybe a couple, sales here and there or whatever. And then it just turned into just craziness. And I think this year we'll be, our team will probably be about 150 houses or so we'll sell this year.
Yeah.
It's been a crazy journey, but it's been fun though. It's way less stress than having an air conditioning company. I had 47 employees, 23 trucks, and 2 locations when I sold. So it was a lot of mouths to feed, lots of families to provide for, paychecks I had to write every week. I don't have to do that in real estate, right?
Yeah.
Even with my fix and flip business, I write checks every week, but they're just 1099 contractors, basically, right? It's not like if I don't have work for them today, I don't feel bad because they're not like full-time employees on my payroll.
Yeah.
Although I do. I mean, I keep like 5 guys busy all the time.
Yeah.
That pretty much work for me all the time. But so it's just a lot less stress, and I don't know. I have fun doing it and taking products on the fix and flip side, so something that's crappy to something that's really nice is really fun and rewarding. And watching people the same side on the brokerage side, right, finding their house, especially first time home buyers, and then they're so excited that they own a property, or even somebody that's bought another house in the past and they're upgrading or downgrading or downsizing or whatever they're doing. It's just fun because they're so excited, right? Every time you're handing them the keys, it's very rewarding. So I like that part of it. It's fun.
Yeah. So you sold your AC company in 2012. Took a 1-year sabbatical.
Yep.
Right. Decided to get into the real estate.
Yep.
With your buddy. Right. Why real estate? Because your story is kind of very similar to mine. Because I sold my limo company in 2012.
Okay.
Took like about 6 months, 7 months off.
Okay.
And then I got into the real estate.
Okay. Yeah.
I just wanted to know what led you to the real estate versus like doing something else or starting another business.
Well, like I said, at that time I had like 7 rentals maybe. And I was already doing fix and flip stuff before I sold the company.
Yeah.
So it just was really easy to get into it and do it. And I think even during that year, I did like 1 or 2 fix and flips or whatever during that year. So I don't even count it as work because it wasn't much, right? I wasn't there physically like, pounding the hammer or anything. But so I think it was just easy on that side. My real intention when I sold the company, honestly, was to get into rentals, just to have more rentals for the cash flow, right? That's what I was looking for. I wanted that cash flow. I'd sold the company. I stopped my active income, and I needed that active income, obviously. I didn't have to have it when I sold my company. I carried the note on it. So I had 7 years to basically figure out, what I needed to do or what I wanted to do. But unfortunately, the guy that bought my company paid me for like a year and a half and then stopped paying. And then we had to take him to court and he filed bankruptcy and it turned into a giant mess. So that kind of forced me a little bit too, because I was relying on having that income, to just pay my bills and whatever. And I still had the chunk aside that I got from the down payment and everything. But once that kind of happened, it was like, it kind of forced me a little bit more like, okay, I need to really do something to have the income while I was fighting him on it. And when it was all said and done, we ended up getting paid, but not everything though. Of course, when he filed bankruptcy,
So he filed bankruptcy. Chapter 7, Chapter 11. 11.
Yep, 11.
Okay.
Yep. So it was a reorganization, even though we were obviously first creditor and everything on it.
Yeah.
Like he didn't pay taxes to the state or city the entire time he owned the company. Wow. So by the time it was about 1.5 to 2 years by the time he did it. So he had 1.5 to 2 years of even all of the money he had collected from the employees' paychecks, right, that they have to withhold for taxes.
Yeah.
Yep. Filed all the reports, but never paid a dime. So he owed in taxes like $1.8 million, I think, in that 1.5, 2 years. He paid zero taxes, withhold everything. Like he had paid nothing. Tons of vendors that he owed because again he didn't pay any of the vendors. It was a mess. I mean, he had about, with not including us, it was like $4.5 million that he owed. So once it went to the bankruptcy court, of course, they're like, well, look, we need to try to get it back together and keep you together. So we were not going to pay this vendor. We're not going to pay this. All the federal and state taxes, he negotiated all that down.
Yep.
So I kind of think, unfortunately, that he really kind of planned it from day one. I think that was kind of his intention. Because if you had intended to keep everything right, why wouldn't you pay taxes right at the beginning, right? But he didn't. From day one of taking over the company, never paid anything. So it was a mess. But when it was all said and done, I mean, we finally got paid out, not last year, it was the year before last. We finally got paid out the rest of it from him in monthly payments that the
So he was still running the company while he's going through the Chapter 11.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Paying himself, his wife, 2 kids, and his sister-in-law. They were all taking a paycheck during that time because you're allowed to. It has to be reasonable, but what was reasonable though, right? Like his sister-in-law, they was paying her like $130,000 a year.
To do what?
To do the books. I'm like, really? To do the books, you're paying but there was nothing we could do. There was nothing the courts could do because they had looked at it and said, well, the size of the company, that seems like it's an appropriate number to be able to pay somebody. Didn't matter if it was family member or not. And of course, he was paying his kids, but I know for a fact that one of his kids wasn't even working there, and one of them was there part-time. And he was paying them kind of the maximum he could there, which was like $60,000 a year or $70,000 a year, something like that. And this was back in 2014, right? So $60,000-$70,000 a year back in 14 was pretty good wage. And then him and his wife both took salary, but it was minimal, right? It was like 30 or 40K a year a piece. But the kids were living at home. So the family income, you know, he was getting 300 grand of income. Yeah. Just to the family or whatever there. And as far as the bankruptcy courts, that was reasonable. And it was a mess. It was a giant mess all the way through. But
did you by any chance have any type of a recourse in terms of like taking it back from him? Have you considered taking it back from him?
I thought that I did in that whole thing.
Yeah.
And our attorneys at the time said, yeah, as long as he owes you at least $250,000, which he owed us way over that.
Yeah.
They said, yeah, it's good that you'll just take it back.
Yeah.
Well, he just kept, his attorney must have been better than ours. They just kept appealing and kept doing different things. So it kept pushing down the road where the bankruptcy courts are like, well, there's no reason to take it back because he's still running the company. He's paying you. He's paying these vendors that the agreed upon price. And so that's what it is. And the court's the one that dictated what he paid us, right, off of it. Even though we were obviously recorded as a UCC and all the first filings because we held the note for it, it didn't matter. Didn't matter when it came back to the bankruptcy court. They're just like, whatever is reasonable in what it is. And, and unfortunately, it's one of those where the bankruptcy court reduced ours, what he owed us, because he had said, well, I'm not producing as much money as they were. Well, of course you're not, because you didn't pay all these guys. So of course all these people aren't going to work with you.
Absolutely.
You're not going to have employees. You know, there's just all these pieces, but it didn't matter. To the bankruptcy court and to him, it didn't matter. You know, he went from 47 employees down to like 8 employees in like 2 years.
Yeah.
Of course you're not going to, you can't do near as much, right? I mean, you can't do near as much business and volume with 8 employees as we were doing with 47. So, but again, the bankruptcy court didn't care, right? It was just saying, well, this is what it is. This is what he's making now. And here's what his assets are. And so
at the peak, I mean, if you don't mind sharing it, I mean, what are we talking about revenue-wise the AC company was generating?
We were doing around $5 million.
$5 million.
Yeah.
Got it.
In 2011-12.
2011-12.
Yeah, which just with cost of everything, right now, it would probably be equivalent to
8 to 9?
No, more than that. It was way over double.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So we'd probably be 12, 15 million maybe a little more right now, considering what it is. I mean, I know that obviously I've had to replace AC units and stuff with, the fix and flips in our personal house and everything.
Yeah.
You know, back then, even in 11 and 12, we were replacing air conditioners for, $5,000 was kind of a typical sale. Well, now I don't know if you've replaced anything recently, but you're at least $8,000, right?
Grand,
at least. At least.
Yeah.
It's most likely probably closer to 10. So, like I said, it's doubled just on the replacement side. But the service side was a huge part of our business. I mean, probably 70% of our business was service.
Yeah.
And the service is crazy. I mean, our average ticket back then was like $200, and now average ticket is well over $600 on service side. So, yeah, I mean,
So if, let's say, you were to keep the company or to sell it now, and the company is doing $14-15 million in sales revenue, how much would you get for that company?
It would probably sell for around $30 million right now.
$30 million.
Yeah. Because the multipliers have gone up exponentially. These service companies now are selling for anywhere from 8 to 10 times EBITDA. Back then, we sold at 2.75, I think. Just under 3, like 2.75, I think is what we sold.
And why do you think that's the case? I've been reading this quite a bit. Like, you have these PE firms that are buying up all these service companies, AC companies, garage door companies, and et cetera, and they're paying these crazy valuations on them. Why is that?
I think the biggest reason is they don't have enough labor, right? They don't have enough labor force out there. I read something the other day, was something like 60 people that retire, in that retire age. Yeah. There's only like 3 or 4 that replace them in the service industry, construction, trade type industry. So I think that's really where it is, that these PE companies know they can charge an arm and a leg for the next decade or 2 probably.
Wow.
Because there's not enough people out there. It doesn't matter the size of the companies or not. They just, period, you don't have enough people to service air conditioning and plumbing and electrical and framing and, all of these type of trades that everybody needs out there. And let's face it, America's getting older every day, so our houses need more renovations and more repairs and more updating. And they're building, how many houses, which were way low, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's a whole nother subject, but we're not even close to what we should be producing in houses. So what happens, and I'm sure you see it as well, everybody is, they're adding on to these houses or making them nicer or whatever because one, we don't have land or whatever. Two, people don't want to go to the new house areas. They want this area of town. And they just don't have enough houses the builders are building anyhow.
And three, I don't think that many people want to pay 7% interest rate, especially if their interest rate is under 3%.
Agreed. Yeah. So they're going to renovate. Yeah. So why not? I mean, they can go get a home equity loan, right? Is fine. They have a 3% interest rate on their main mortgage. They can go do a home equity loan, and they're paying more, right? Probably 7 or 8% or whatever. Yeah. But it's way cheaper, like you said, than it is moving and uprooting the family. Absolutely. They can add on and add value to the house and stuff. So I think that's what it is. That's where these PE companies are really seeing that. And obviously, they're taking all these small companies and combining them under one umbrella. But in the air conditioning industry, I was talking to a guy that is still in it and is involved in a lot of that. He said that these companies here in the Valley that have been acquired over the last couple of years that I knew and were my competitors at that time, they're all owned by a PE company now, but they still kept the same entity name. So they're still running under that same old entity name to make it look like they're different companies and competing. But in reality, they're all owned by this one. Yeah. So it's crazy. So all the small companies, he's like, your company would absolutely be running separate at this point if it would have been acquired because you were big enough that they would have kept it. You had your name and branding and everything there, which is another thing, actually, speaking of the guy that bought my company within 6 months changed the name of the company. So, of course, his sales went down. Of course, everything. I mean, you can't go and buy a company like that and within 6 months change the name.
Unless the company has like a horrible reputation or you got like a big brand yourself, you know, and you're going to be using that name. I mean, why would you want to do that? It just doesn't make sense.
And he changed it to his last name.
It's an ego thing.
That's what it was. Yep. It went to his last name. The company went to his last name. And it was absolutely an ego thing. That's exactly what it was. He didn't care about the brand. He didn't care. It was an ego thing saying, look, you know, I have this company, and that's what it was. 100% that's what it was. But it killed him. He should have just left it alone, and he could have changed it in a year or two after he got everything established, right? And it probably would have been okay. He still probably would have lost some business, but he wouldn't have lost. I don't know what he lost exactly, but probably, because I forget what the numbers were. I think he was down to $1.5 million in gross revenue, something like that.
That's an 80% drop.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So he could have dropped, like I said, in a year or two, if he wanted his ego thing going, he probably could have dropped 20% and been okay, you know, but.
Is he still around? Is the company still around?
Of course he is. Wow. Yeah. And back at the time, he's like, oh my gosh, this company's crap. And, you know, that's what he's telling all the bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course he's still running now. I don't know how big he is or whatever. I have no clue. But he's still running. I see his trucks and whatever around. So
would you ever consider, if the opportunity arises, to maybe start or maybe acquire an AC company? Or this is just not the play that you want to run?
I don't think that it is. Anymore. You know, I was in it for so many years. So that's how I got into it, was from my dad. So my dad actually worked for a huge corporation here in Arizona his whole career for like 38 years. And he got me into it, kind of taught me the trade, and then I had to do some schooling, but very, very minimal schooling. It was all basically just taught from him, hands-on. So, and then he passed away in 2011, which is kind of where, again, he wasn't part of my company, but he had taught me the trade. Once he passed away, it was just like, man, you know what? This is okay. I'm making a great living, but it wasn't my passion. It was just something that I was doing and I was good at, and it worked well, and I worked hard doing it, but I could tell the stress, you know, from all of it there, that it was like, okay, it's time. And, you know, I'm not like, he was gone, so it wasn't like disappointing him. Not that he would have been fine if I would have sold it, but you know, it'd been the same thing, like, okay, well, what are you going to do type thing. And but of course, you know, looking back, I'm still happy that I did it, because like I said, looking back, if I would have fast forward even 10 years, I could have got, like I said, way bigger multiplier out of it. You know, like 8 times what I sold it for, 7 times. But I would have also had to gone through a lot of that, right? Back in 2012, social media was just starting to come around. So we had very little of that exposure on that side. Stuff has changed a ton, right? From social media, Yelp, all these things. We would have overcome it, would have been fine, but it would have been a lot, right? Coming through all that stuff, keeping employees and just all the stuff along with it. That, you know, I'm fine. And I wouldn't have done the real estate stuff that I've done. So And like I said, I really enjoy it. And the air conditioning side was it was an income, and it was good, but it wasn't my passion. And
yeah, well, you don't have a passion. You don't have a really kind of like excitement about it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's time to change.
Exactly. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's shift gears to real estate then. So got your license in early 2013.
I did.
And you said like right off the bat, you started like marketing and lead generation. So what exactly were you doing?
So I was doing, back then in Arizona, we could do pay for Zillow, right? You could pay for the zip codes just like you can with Realtor.com. Now you can't, right? But so I started doing Zillow and Realtor.com mostly. And then just family, friends, and all the people. I mean, I grew up here in Phoenix, so I just knew so many people. We had 12,000 customers from the air conditioning company.
Wow.
I didn't even market to them or anything because, it would have been overwhelming if I would have. And I didn't want to get in trouble, even though it had nothing to do with my non-compete. I didn't want to get in trouble on that side. Mm-hmm. So I didn't even market to them or anything. It just word of mouth happened so quick. That I just started getting tons of leads from people. They knew me from the air conditioning industry and were like, oh, yeah, I want to buy a house. I want to sell a house. I want to do that. And it doesn't take near as many house transactions as it did for the air conditioning company, right? Keeping that many employees, on average, we would do about 100 calls a day between service and install and whatever. 100 a day. Well, if I had 100 a day real estate, there's no way. Like I could never keep up with that.
Yeah.
So I only needed, 5, 10 a month, right? That's all I needed. Yeah. So it didn't take very long to be able to get to that point. So, then I started just hiring some agents and figuring it out, right? I didn't know what agents I needed to hire. So I went through a bunch of them, right? Because my thought and plan behind it wasn't what they thought it was. And so I went through quite a few agents until I started getting some that kind of fit and aligned more with what I wanted to do. And a lot of them wanted to, learn from me. That was the biggest thing, right? They wanted to go, okay, what have you done? They've known me for years or maybe even met me recently. What have you done to build a rental portfolio? And, that like they wanted to learn from me on top of it. And, because it was within a year or so that I was hiring agents after I got my license. But they knew how successful I already was in the air conditioning and what I'd already done in the real estate in that short amount of time. So once I figured that out with the agents, then it made it easy. And it's still the same way today. All the agents that are doing really well with me are all agents that want to learn and have the same thing. So over the years, they've acquired rental properties. Mm-hmm. They do fix and flips. And some of my best agents are doing exactly what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. They're doing fix and flips and rentals and Airbnbs, and they sell a little bit of retail, but not a ton. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. And then I've recently brought on some more agents to do more of the retail because it's the same part on there, right? They were doing some retail. Yeah. Now they're doing more fix and flips and so they don't have time to work the leads and everything. So I need to bring on some new, fresh agents to learn that. But like I just lost 2 agents last week because I just started putting pressure on them. They weren't following up. I could see it in our CRM, right? I could see they were getting leads, but they weren't following up.
What do you guys use for a CRM?
So we use Follow Up Boss.
Oh, great. Yeah. Great product.
And then linked with Conversion Monster, which has been huge. I started both of those probably about not even a year ago, maybe like 8 months ago. That's been a great combo though. Having the leads that come in from all the different sources, they come into the Follow Up Boss. Obviously they get distributed through Follow Up Boss. They get tagged with CM or Conversion Monster, accordingly. Mm-hmm. And they're calling, texting, email, instantly, faster than my agents are, getting them on the phone. So my existing agents, their conversion rate is almost doubled in that amount of time because they haven't been following up, right? That's, better than I do. That's the biggest issue.
That's the biggest Achilles heel, if you think about it. Most of the agents are good in front of the buyer or seller, but when it comes to actually picking up that phone and calling and kind of trying to convert them over the phone, that's where the issue is.
Exactly. Once they get in front of them, like you said, it's all good, right? That once they've met them face to face, most agents are great once they get to that point, but it's hard to get them to that point. Like you said, they've got to call, they got to text, they got to email, they got to send them house, they got to work. Yeah. But once they get, like you said, in front of them physically, which is whole Zillow's thing, right? I was part of Zillow's thing when first is now, of course, George is pretty much taken over that whole thing here, but which is great. It's awesome, but that's their whole thing, right? They want you to get in front of them. And it's right. The faster you can get in front of those people, the better success you're going to have.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's hard. It's hard for these agents to do that because they have a stumbling block on it.
So when did you realize, like, you know what, instead of me, banging my head against the wall, trying to make an agent to do something that is just naturally not willing to do, I guess, most of the agents, from my experience, they're just not willing to make those calls on a consistent basis, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, instead I'll just invest in Conversion Monster. And I don't know how much you pay on a monthly basis, but like you said, you know what, it's time for me to just shift things and change things up.
Right. Well, I noticed it, and I meant to really do something about 3 years ago, but everything was going pretty well. And obviously, 3 years ago, COVID, right? 2020, 21, everything was just moving.
It was great,
so it was good. So really, like I said, it was about 8 months ago when I put it in. So it was probably about a year ago when I finally said, okay, I got to figure out something else here because I see all these leads getting wasted. So I'm like, all right, I got to start researching and talking to people and seeing, and what are other people doing, and figure out what is right for us, right? Because it's not what you do doesn't mean that it's going to be right for me or vice versa, right? So, so I just started researching and looking and trying some different things, and I spent because we were talking a little bit earlier, but I don't spend a ton of time here in Arizona, but I spent basically the winter here, and I literally spent all winter this last winter just working on it, researching, putting it together, getting everything integrated. I spent like 4 months, like most I've worked in years, right? I probably worked 40 hours a week for like 4 months, just trying to put all this together and get it all together. Cause it takes a lot of time, right? To get all of that integrated. But now it's paying off, and I knew that it would. I hired a sales coach as well that does sales meetings for my team once a week, cause it's all good. I can teach them so much, but I'm not a sales coach. That's just not who I am. I'm, much better kind of the same thing, right? In front of people. And I've never been the one that wants to call or cold call or in anything either. That's just not, I'm not wired that way either. Yeah. So, and some of my agents are not either. So it's fine. I'm not mad at them. It's okay that, some people are just not wired that way. And then look, and if you're successful, I don't care if you call anybody or not.
Yeah.
If you're on my team and you're successful with whatever you're doing, you don't need to call anybody. I don't care what you do. But if you're not successful, you're not producing, then I need you to make those calls and work on that. And like I said, that's where it was the issue. No matter how much I talked to them and tried to tell them and whatever, it's not me. And I had a hard time getting them to do that. So that's why I found a sales coach, which I just kind of stumbled upon. He really just called me kind of advertising, and I just entertained him, like, I don't know, let's just see. And so, so it's been good. Now, the sales coach thing is great, and I think that it's good for the new agents that come on. But I think once they kind of get it, they don't really need to be in that all the time if they're producing. And just a little refresher here and there is all they need. They don't need to be in a weekly, hour-long, grind through the sales process. They don't really need that. But they do need, so we started every other week doing like an advanced class. So then it helps really getting into that part of like, okay, you're working with clients, you're having a hard time getting an offer accepted. What's going on? Like working with them on that side, you've already got in front of them, you've already been through all that part of it, but you can't get it accepted, or you're having a problem with, negotiating benzers and things just like that kind of advanced side. So we started that every other week. And that's helped a lot with those agents, but they're still having a hard time even every other week joining the meeting. We do it through Zoom. So that way they don't have to be anywhere specific or whatever. And I don't know, it seems like
do you actually have your own like physical location office or?
I do, but we don't use it.
You don't use it.
No, it's it's literally just a little office at our brokerage.
Yeah.
But yeah, nobody really uses it or anything. We do like once every month, every 6 weeks, we do like a meeting physically.
Yeah.
But it's more just catching up and a little bit of stuff, not really, really deep into the sales side. It's just kind of talking market conditions overall and what they've done with some of the leads and not, and what's working and what's not. And just catching up with them personally. That's our biggest thing on that side.
Yeah. So the sales coach is basically like a contractor, right? Somebody that you pay on a monthly basis.
Yep.
That's what you do. And then how many leads on average do you buy or generate like on a monthly basis right now?
Monthly basis, I think we're around 400.
400.
Yeah.
And you got a team of 15, right?
Yeah, we're down to, well, like I said, 2 of them are gone, so we're down to 13 right this
13.
second. Yeah.
Got
But
it.
I'll bring on some more here. I'm looking for some agents right now. And I think some of these agents that I recently brought on were all great, but I think some of them, they weren't really doing anything transaction-wise. And they're like, oh, this is great. I can learn, I get leads, whatever.
Yeah.
They just didn't have the motivation behind them, which is why they were doing nothing anyhow.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm really looking for agents that are producing like, maybe at least 3 to 5 deals a year or more to bring them on to ramp their game up for them, right? Because that's what they need.
Right.
Those that are doing 3 to 5 a year, they're probably making a living, barely scraping by.
Well, they're content, right? I mean, 3 to 5. I mean, you have some agents that are 3 to 5 and they're happy with 3 and 5, 3 to 5, and that's pretty much it, right? But I think you're looking for somebody who's doing 3 to 5, but they want to get to about 10 to 15.
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where I think I can help them more.
Sure.
So that's really what I'm looking for right now on agents that can do that are willing and want to do that. Like you said, some of them are content, and that's great. If that's what you want to do, that's all good.
Yeah.
But if you're ready to ramp up, that's I think where I'm looking for. And then of course some of them that want to learn from me on the fix and flip and what, happy to teach them.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've got 2, 3, 4. I have 5 of my agents that are doing the exact same thing right now, fix and flips and Airbnbs and long-term rentals. And so we're all very, very willing to teach everybody. And they all learned from me and started their process from me. So,
yeah.
And they're all doing great. I mean, some of them are just getting close to catching up to me. I mean, they're younger people, no family. So they're just taking every penny they make and just reinvesting it and doing it, and which is awesome. That's good. I mean, they do it that's what I told them. I said, you guys got a couple more years left realistically. And then that's it. Then you can just kind of cruise control, right? Still do stuff, but you don't have to grind as hard and put every penny away. And that's kind of their plan. They're not married. They want to start a family here pretty soon. So they're thinking the same thing. If I just grind a couple more years, put it away, build a rental portfolio, have that cash flow, now I can start my family and I'm not stressed about it.
Yeah.
I've got enough income just from rentals alone, let alone anything else I'm doing to provide for the family. So, they're good, which is awesome, right? I mean, that's fantastic. And I love seeing that. And I would love to see that even more. So,
yeah. Yeah.
So,
how much time are you spending with your team members? I mean, you said you have a sales coach who does these weekly trainings with them, but in addition to it, do you have like an admin or you have a TC or you have somebody else?
I don't right now.
No?
I have
Okay.
nothing right now. No.
With 13 agents, no admin?
Nothing. Wow. Nope. I have nothing on that side. So that's going to be one of our next things that we put in is going to be a TC or admin. And we'll be doing it soon, probably before the end of the year. Yeah. Because I can tell that we're kind of getting to that limit. So
when they have questions, they're like going directly to you?
They're going to me right now. Yeah. So I get a lot of direct calls and emails and texts and whatever from my agents.
Yeah.
So I would say I probably spend an hour or 2 a week with each one of them, whether it's email, text, phone call, something.
That's about 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Just from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's like the biggest part of my, like what I have to do every day is just talk to them and help them negotiate or questions or whatever it is. So again, that's what I know by the end of the year, we're going to be to that point. And I don't mind it, now, but as I add more agents, that number becomes bigger, right? Yeah. So then it becomes harder for me to do, and I don't want to do that. So,
well, I mean, obviously there are certain questions that you definitely would be the person to answer, but there's going to be also a bunch of questions that I think that an admin or an assistant or a TC can handle with flying colors, right?
Agreed.
So it's almost kind of you want to have that buffer between you and the agents.
Right. It'd probably cut my time in half.
100%.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as I bring on some more agents and I get them rolling, they're going to have more questions. It's going to take more of my time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Then it's time to do it. But again, when I originally started this, I never really had any intentions to like make money with this. My intention was really just
need some help.
Yeah, to provide leads to them that I was already paying for and have that backup for me to say, hey, look, if it slows down, whatever happens, my foot's in the door with getting leads and how to do it and staying on track with that. Not that I would want to, but I fire my agents and now I've got all the leads myself and I can provide for my family, right? I mean, that was my original intention.
Yeah.
Well, now in the last couple of years, it's providing like my income really. So I don't really do any sales hardly anymore at all, besides my own fix and flip and maybe a listing here or there. Buyers are very, very little. I do very little of those. I give all that stuff to my team now. But again, it's basically what I live on now. Like that's my salary. That's what we live on is just that portion from the real estate team. So all of my fix and flips, all the commission advance companies, the storage, and all the other stuff that we have is just reproduces back into itself to buy more, right? Or invest more, or have more cash, or whatever we decide to do with it at that period of time. We don't live on any of that income at all. It just gets reinvested back into whatever it is, and a lot of it doesn't get reinvested back into the same thing. Obviously, that's why I've got so many pieces, right? It gets invested in other things. So we just live right now on the real estate income side. So, and we have for the last probably, gosh, I don't know, 5-6 years probably. 5-6 years. But I was doing more personal on my own. Now I'm doing less personal sales. Putting more to my team. I take a less percentage, obviously, because my team, but it's okay because I'm not doing it. Right, I'm not out there showing people houses and doing all that like they're doing it. So but again, it's about time.
Yeah, we all have levels, right? And we graduate each level. So I mean, at one point I done all of the listings. I worked with all of the buyers, and eventually I realized, that's not really the way to grow. You have to do it through people. You have to do it through systems. You have to do it through leads, right? So we go from level to level. So kind of what is your next level for you in terms of like the agent count, the agents that you want to have on your team? Let's say you and I having this conversation by the end of the year. How many agents do you think that you can have on your team?
I've never really thought about that. I think it's just more about just making sure that everybody's happy and everybody's producing to their fullest ability. What I don't want to have is just a bunch of dead agents on the team. I don't really think that that's advantageous for any of us. I want all of them to be producing kind of as much as to their ability as possible, right? Everybody has their own capabilities. You can, see that with all of my existing team. So I want them to be producing. I want them to be productive. I don't want an agent that's closing 1 or 2 deals a year. That just isn't productive to me. I need them producing, basically like 6 per year kind of minimum, right? 1 every other month. That's really what I'm looking for on my team. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. But that's what I'm looking to try to get them to that point minimum before I bring on more agents. So I am talking to, actually I have a meeting on Tuesday or Wednesday with a smaller team that they want to bring their whole team over and merge with me. So I'm not sure how that's going to look, but they've got 8 or 9 agents, something like that. So we'll see. Just a beginning of the conversation, we were texting about it, and so we're gonna meet on I think it's on Tuesday and just see if it's a good fit or not. And I think it sounds like it is, but we got to kind of put pen to paper and see if they're a good fit. And, but I think that's kind of exciting. That'll be fun.
Absolutely. And they reached out to you, or you reached out?
They reached out to me.
They reached out to you.
Yeah, through social media. I'd done a deal with him. Gosh, I don't know, the team leader 5-6 years ago, and he'd been following me on social media since. And I posted on social media saying, hey, I want to bring on some agents. And he reached out and said, hey, I think, I like what you do. And you were great working with that transaction. I've been following you on Facebook and Instagram. And so let's talk. So, all right, let's talk, right? You never know where this stuff comes from. Social media is so powerful, right? It's unbelievable where it comes from. But so we'll see. If that happens, I already told him, look, we're going to bring on a TC or, admin or something. We're bringing on something. We have to. There's no way that we can do this to make it successful for either one of us or anybody if we don't, which obviously will help the production of my existing team too, right? Because they'll be able to, they won't have to do all the paperwork and all the, every piece of it, scheduling all the inspections and, appraisals and all. So it'll help their productivity as well. So I'm guessing that all my existing agents probably can bring on 1 or 2 more deals a year, easy.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Just with eliminating that.
Oh, so, of course, yeah. And plus, it's going to really make your job so much more streamlined.
Correct.
I mean, I don't know what I would do without an admin, to be honest with you.
Sure.
Probably one of the most important decisions I made in my 3rd year in real estate, where I hired an admin, and I doubled my production, spending less time actually working.
Great. That's
I
awesome.
went from 35 transactions to 75 transactions by just having an admin.
Okay.
Why? Because that admin basically took all of the operational stuff, all of the marketing stuff that I was doing myself, and she handled it.
Okay.
herself.
Okay. So they do any TC for you on the admin
Everything.
side? So they do all of
So
that admin does
so
all
I had
of
an admin fully licensed, TC work, listing coordination, scheduling pictures, installations, buffer between me and my clients with questions and answers.
Awesome.
When we're bringing in agents, onboarding those agents, offboarding those agents, doing some of the training.
Got it.
So
Perfect.
like 50, 60, 70% of the workload is going to the admin.
Perfect. Yeah.
And I'm focusing on relationships, business development, lead gen, all of that stuff.
Good. Yeah. And you just pay salary?
Salary.
Okay.
I was paying
Bonuses
salary,
too
yeah.
or no?
Plus bonuses, performance bonuses on the number of closings and all of that.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So
good.
That's awesome.
That's exactly what I was thinking. The same thing.
Yeah. Even when we started a brokerage 4 years ago, there's no way I would be able to grow and scale if I would not have an admin.
Especially on a brokerage side, there's no way.
Same thing with the once we get to about 18 to 19 agents, I was a designated broker, and I said, no, this is not for me.
Yeah.
So I hired a designated broker, David Roney. He's been with us for 4 years.
Okay.
There's no way I would be where I'm at right now if I would be DB myself.
There's no way. Yeah. People ask me all the time, why don't you start your own brokerage? And I'm like, exactly that, right? It's back to this air conditioning company thing again, almost, right? So you got a salary broker, you've got that. I was trying to avoid all of that as much as possible, and I'm still trying to, right? I'm trying not to get too deep into it because it's all good, but I'm still having fun doing it all, and I don't want it to turn into this work. And not that it's work, like I said, it's taking off less, but at the same point in time, I've had fun with it up to this point, and I don't want to lose that.
Yeah.
But I think bringing on admin, TC would be very helpful. It would help eliminate a lot of work on my side personally, as well as obviously the agents. And I think that's really the next step. So, like I said, really back to answer your question, I think that's what it looks like by the end of the year. I've got somebody on that's doing that. I maybe have added a few more agents, but probably not a whole lot more than 15 unless we bring on this merger or whatever. Then of course we'll be way over that.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know if it'll happen or not, but it's exciting. It's fun to look at it and see the possibilities, because I think that would be a great fit for my team to be able to bring on guys that are already producing. I also think that they'll be able to help, right? They're already running a team, so they're going to be able to help and bring a lot of value to my team as well that I can't bring to them.
Oh, absolutely.
But I can bring a lot of value to their team that they can't bring to them. And I think that's the reason that he reached out, was for that reason. He's going, okay, look, we like what you guys do. We see all the fix and flips. We see the rentals. We're not doing that. We're just doing strictly straight up retail real estate.
Yeah.
And we want to do that. And some of my team wants to do that, but we don't know. We don't know where to start. We don't know what to do. So you can help us on that side. And so we'll see. I think it'll be fun, but it'll be interesting.
That's exciting, man.
Yeah.
So let's talk about fix and flips, right? So obviously the market has been somewhat challenging in the last 12 to 16 months.
It has been, yeah.
Right. So I got fix and flip buddies that used to flip like 30, now barely do like 5 or 6 or 7. Very selective.
Right.
You're still flipping a lot of homes.
We are. Yeah, we're still doing a lot.
So what's the secret to your madness?
We're very selective as well. I think part of it is we've been in it for so long and been doing it for so long that we just get so many more opportunities than a lot of these guys that we're doing 30, 40, whatever it is, just like you mentioned. Because most likely, I'm guessing, a lot of those guys that were doing those were probably buying them from wholesalers that were in town, right? And we do, don't get me wrong, we still do, but we source so many deals off of that right now that's where a lot of our deals are coming from. Social media.
Direct deals.
Yep.
Okay.
From social media. I get a lot of agents that I've worked with over the years that just call me and say, hey, got this client. Their house is not retail ready. I know you do fix and flips. You bought one from us before or not, whatever. You sold us one, sold one of my clients, one of your fix, whatever it might be. It doesn't matter. And I'll get text or emails or phone calls from agents constantly saying, hey, I've got this property or not, or I just did one in Lake Havasu like 2 months ago. It was from a guy that I knew for years here. He moved out of state like 5 years ago, and he hit me up. He's like, hey, my aunt, her dad passed away. He had a house in Havasu. Do you want to do it? I was like, yeah, connect me. And I never even saw the house. I actually just did a wholesale deal on that thing. And I didn't even do the fix and flip on it. I just wholesaled it, and I know all the connections on all that side, so I just plugged it in and it was done. So that we get a lot of opportunity like that. And I think it's just that we've been in the game for so long. We do so many houses, and it's not just me. Like I said, it's 5 other of my agents that are doing the same thing. So between all of us, and honestly, some of my younger agents, like I was telling you about, that are, like 2 more years, they're very, very active in social media, and they get a ton of deals that way more than I do even. But they get a lot that way that, I'll buy from them, or they'll sell to one of my other agents, or whatever it might be, and all off market, direct to seller type stuff. So we're not relying on these wholesalers all the time, but we haven't started like a wholesale company. Essentially, we potentially could with as many deals as we get.
You're not running a separate company when it comes to flipping, right?
Flipping, yes,
you do,
but not wholesaling.
Not wholesaling. No, but you're still doing wholesaling though. You're
very little.
Very little.
Very little. We only wholesale probably between all of us maybe 10 deals a year. That we wholesale. Yeah, not very many. And they're usually like that, right? They're not where our crews are. Lake Havasu is not where our crews are. It's 3-4 hours drive.
Yeah.
It's that, or we just have too many projects at the time, and we just can't take it on, or we just go, well, we don't love that house because, again, we've been a lot more selective. So then we'll wholesale it out to somebody or whatever at that point. I've also got a lot of clients, and so do my agents, that do fix and flips as well, and they rely on us finding projects for them. So we'll a lot of times wholesale it, or I say wholesale, sell it to them essentially. We will make a little bit, right? We'll make a couple grand selling it to them as kind of a wholesale, but then part of that caveat is when they get completed with it, then we list it for them.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of that for quite a while until I started getting my team on and doing more of them, and now we share more deals than I do that with clients. But I did a lot of that for years, where I just got properties from wherever, even from wholesale. I might get it from a wholesaler and sell it to my client and make a couple grand there, and then make my 3% on the backside. But in the meantime, while they were doing the fix and flip, I was there to help them.
Yeah.
Right. Here's the colors you use. Here's the tile you use. Here's what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Here's where our ARV needs to be, but it needs to look like this. They're calling me, hey, we ran across this problem or this. What should we do? Right. So, and I'm there to help all of them. And my current agents, I do the same thing all the time with them too.
Yeah.
As they're fixing and flipping, they're like, okay, I'm at this point. Here's my budget. Here's where I am. What decision do I make? Right. What do I do? Do I, fix this wall? Do I do this? Do I open this? So I'm there to help them on that side all the time. And I did that, like I said, with clients a lot. So, but again, kind of back to your question though, we are very selective now in the last 12 to 18 months.
So what is your selection criteria right now?
So our selection criteria is when we look at, one, we have to have the margin there, right? Typically we look at it from what we purchase it, rehab, and what we think it's going to sell for. We want to make at least 30 grand. That's our first criteria we look at. Once we get past that, then we're looking at areas. So we want to see in that neighborhood, on those streets, whatever similar or same type houses, how many are listed, how many are pending, how many have recently sold. Forget the numbers on them, just what's the activity there. We also want to check to see, are there 15 other houses being rehabbed in the same neighborhood? And are all those coming to market in the next 30 to 60 days? And we've got all this competition. So we want to look at all those pieces now, because it does happen, right? It's not as much right now where you have 15 houses in the same neighborhood being rehabbed, but it was a couple years ago. It didn't matter too much then because inventory was moving. But now, if we do see that, which we do see some neighborhoods like that, maybe not 15, but there might be 5 or 6, we stay clear of that house, even if our numbers look like they're good, because we don't want to compete. Right? We don't want to compete with 5 other flippers on the market within 30 days of each other. That doesn't help any of us, because all that happens there is it's the lowest one to drop the price.
Yeah. And it affects everybody else then.
Correct. Yeah. So we don't want to be there. So we're looking, like I said, we're looking at all the houses, like I said, are active or pending, and how long they took to sell. Like one of my agents that does a lot of retail stuff sent me one yesterday that's on market, and said, hey, look, I can get it for X dollars. And the numbers worked. And I looked at it and said, great, I see the comps as well, but I see 1 pending house and 8 active houses, and average days on market was 46 days. I don't I don't want to do that. I want to sell my house typically, right? We shoot for trying to be in and out in about 90 days. So when we purchase the house, rehab 30-ish days, 30, 45 days, put it up for sale. We sell it within the first week or two, 30-day escrow, and we're out, right? So we're about 90-day process if everything goes right. That's what we want to be. We've actually increased that a little bit recently, mostly because even though we've got all of our trades, they just take longer and materials are still an issue to get. Not as much as they were, but like windows, for instance, are 3-4 weeks if we got to do windows. Unless we happen to have stock sizes, then it's okay. But if it's special order, it's 3-4 weeks. Well, as you know, you can do a lot of your rehab, but you can't complete everything. So we want to be in and out in rehab in 30 to 45 days. Well, if we can't get windows and doors until 4 weeks, we're essentially at the end of our rehab process, and now we're getting windows and doors. So it's extended slightly. So we're I see a lot of them. We're right at 100 days. So we've extended about 10 days overall, just because of market and what it is. And some of it's days on market, right? We're a little bit more days on market than we were, but that's our criteria, as well as the location, right? Real estate, everybody's heard location. Is that. So if we can find one on a golf course or on a lake or anything that's like common area, anything that makes it a little bit better, kind of a prime spot in that neighborhood. We will not buy anything on main roads. So no major roads. Even if the house backs it, we won't buy it. We stay away from all the main road stuff. So we want to find that location in that neighborhood. So again, we're very picky as we're going through stuff. But if we find them, we'll wholesale them or we'll sell them to our clients if we still think that it's going to be okay. But the ones that we bring on ourselves, that's what we look for. But the market's very weird, especially the last 6 months or so. We look and go through all that criteria, and some houses will sell in a week, and other ones will be like, I got one right now. It's 41 days on the market. I'm like, what the heck? Like, I literally sold one a few months ago down the street, different floor plan and different builder, but same type of criteria we go off of, and that sold in like a week. So it doesn't make sense. But it's very, very strange. And same with somebody did a flip behind us in this particular property I'm talking about, and they sold it in like 3 days. Same exact floor plan and everything. And we did actually more to it than they did. They had a little bit bigger lot, was literally the only thing. But we did all the tile showers and stuff. They left fiberglass showers in it. But it was identical floor plan and everything. So it's like, this is weird. So
what about price points? I mean, are you kind of like mid, high mid, or I mean, would you like flip a luxury, $1 million plus, 2 million,
so
3 million?
I don't like doing those, the million plus luxury stuff.
What's your sweet spot? What's your like a sandbox?
So there's 2 sweet spots that we have right now in the market. We have the low end. So low end would be if we can, our ARV is going to be about 350, 380 or under. Or we kind of skip basically 400 to about 600. We don't do too many in that range. But 700 to like 900 is another really sweet spot that does really, really well.
Why is that?
I don't know. I'm thinking that, people that have some money right now with high interest rates, they're buying those kind of that 700 to 900. They're going into the multi-million-dollar houses, right? Those are selling, but it's just a different animal for us. But I think that's where it is. There's those people in that 700 to 900. They have some money. They potentially, most likely, are not contingent. They've sold a house. They don't need to be contingent, whatever. So we eliminate that part. They don't need closing costs or anything. But what they are very, very strict looking for are the ones that are on the lakes, the golf courses, like the prime properties. They're willing to pay for those.
Premium. Got it.
Yep.
Got it.
So we do a premium job in those. We put much nicer products and finishes and stuff in them. But we also find and look for those premium locations. And those ones sell really quickly. We just did one in Chandler, and I got, like 10 offers on it in like the first weekend, and it was like a $780 price point.
So what was your the average cost of the rehab?
Most of our average, that one was higher, obviously, because I think we spent about $150,000 on that one. Yeah, but most of ours now, 50 to 80,000. That's our rehab, and most of the properties that we do, where 3 years ago it was like 30 to 50,000, right? So our rehab has gone up a lot, which makes it tougher to find properties, which is why a lot of these guys got out, because they couldn't figure that part out.
Yeah.
Because the prices haven't gone up that much. Yes, the prices have gone up.
Yeah.
on the properties, but not enough. The margin's not there because what they sell them for to us off market or wholesale isn't what they were 2-3 years ago, right? So we didn't have that margin built in. So these guys that just weren't used to it.
So how are you finding that margin? I mean, where do you find that margin?
So a lot of it is negotiating it,
buying it right.
It all comes down to buying it right, 100%. Because you can look at your ARV and be fairly close, right? I mean, we've all been doing this long enough. If you're a good agent, you can be pretty darn close on your ARV. I mean, let's call it within $10,000, right? Of almost any price point in that price point we're talking about. About $10,000, you can be pretty darn close.
Yeah.
So it's all about the purchase side. We got to get them right. And we also have to look and see what rehab needs to be done because buyers are being very, very picky right now. And I think because interest rates are high, so when they do inspections, they're really looking at roofs. They're really looking at AC units and all the little things in between. They're looking and nitpicking all of those pieces to it. And I don't blame them, right? I mean, you're paying 7% interest. And you're paying, so you feel like a premium price for a property because we're, asking a premium price for a rehab property. They need to be picky. So we have to be careful on that side when we purchase them to make sure we look at those items and make sure we build those into our budget. Because if we don't, we could be 10 grand off easy, right? Like I just signed a contract on a roof for one we're doing today was $9 grand for like 1,400 square foot house. Just for the roof was $9 grand. So I knew it going in and it was already built to my budget. It was fine. But let's say it wasn't. And I found out I needed $9 grand and we started with our $30,000, right? Buffer.
Now it's 21,000.
Correct. Just like that and not even watching it. And you know, how that goes, it's almost impossible to even keep it within there. Something comes up and that same property, when my guys tore the showers and stuff out, the drains were just rotted right there at the trap. So they had to jackhammer the concrete to replace the drain P-traps in them. Again, it's much more cost effective for me because I have guys that do it. You know, I pay them per day. So it doesn't matter. They just work.
So you pay your guys per day.
I pay them per day. Yep. I write them a check every week. So they work for me like that as kind of a salary per day. So each guy is different depending on what his skill set is. So it costs me a lot less than somebody having a plumber come in and, you know, okay, that's $500 to do it. My guys just say, yep, this is what it is. And they've been with me for so long, they just do it. They just know, and they know what I expect. They know what we're going to have with inspections and whatever, and we just take care of it. So we'll go over budget, you know, by a couple $1,000 pretty easily just because of things like that, you know, stuff that we didn't even see. You can't see, right? Yeah. There's no way to be able to see it. And stuff like that happens constantly. So we're always a couple grand here or there, whatever. So it's no big deal. But if you miss something, it could be a big deal. So we're checking, like I said, sewer lines. If it's an older house, we're sewer scoping stuff before we even purchase them, running that camera down the sewer scope and making sure. Because again, buyers are getting more savvy. Agents are getting more savvy with these older houses in older neighborhoods. They want to make sure that their buyers are protected and the sewer line's okay. And the sewer line could, even though my guys could do it ourselves, it will cost me 10 grand, easy, 15 grand, depending on how much and if we have to go all the way to the street or what we have to do to replace it. And that's a huge, huge chunk out of our profit. So we're sewer scoping stuff to make sure stuff's right. So just being proactive on that type, again, being selective, right? Making sure that stuff is right. Even if they're wholesale properties, we're trying to do that as well. And we just put it in and saying, hey, look, I understand that you're a non-refundable 5-10K earnest, but I need to check this. You didn't check it. The homeowner didn't check it. There's no reason for anybody to, but look, I know that this is a cost for me that could add 10 or 15K and I'm not willing to take that risk. So I've got to put it in there. If there's an issue here, I'm either out and I get my earnest back or we're renegotiating this price. So we're doing that to make sure that we cover ourselves. We didn't, right? For years, we never did that because we would just either deal with it or, again, it wasn't a problem because the houses weren't old enough. But fast forward even a few years, it's becoming more and more of an issue.
So right now, you know, any given month, I mean, what are you averaging? About 2 to 3 flips a month?
Myself or the team?
Just the team.
The whole team?
Yeah.
We'd probably do 6, 7 a month. Yeah, maybe more. Some months we're probably more than that. We probably get some months we're 10 or 12.
How do you make sure that you don't kind of like overextend or over leverage? Because I had You know Templeton Walker, right? Yeah. So I had him on a podcast about a month ago and so like that. And he was sharing the story about how he was able to, I mean, he had a bunch of flips going on back in 2022 and he got way overextended financially. And I think like altogether, he lost about $1.1 million or something like that with these flips ultimately.
Right.
You know, with
that same time frame, I think I lost like 200K.
200K.
Yeah.
So how do you like, and I know it's one of those kind of like loaded questions, like how do you make sure that you don't overextend yourself like financially, like having those 5 or 6 or 7 flips going at the same time?
So for me, a lot of guys, what they'll do is they'll have all these projects lined up, right? So they just kind of keep stuff going all the time. For me, I don't do that. I will only buy a project when my guys are ready to get on it. I can find a project, right? I can always find a project for them. But I won't like right this very second, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 personal ones going right this second. But one of them, well, actually was supposed to close this week, but it's not closing till Tuesday because the lender, anyhow, second appraisal, that's a whole nother story. Another one's listed. So I'm just waiting. I got a contract. We've been kind of negotiating back and forth. And then I've got 3 that we're currently working on. And then actually I have 2 new builds we're working on right now as well. So my guys are working on all of those. So I basically kind of set them up. Like one of the properties, my guys went in, did all the demo, did all the like plumbing and electrical and getting all that ready to go, you know, replacing the valves and stuff for the plumbing, for the showers. The drywall guys have been in there the last 4 days. While those guys are working on the drywall, I pull my crew and they're on another house for me. But I didn't own that. I just bought that house last, what's today, Friday? I bought it on Friday, last week on Friday. So they started on Tuesday on it. So I only owned it for like 3 days before my guys were in there working on it. The other house that I actually have my other crew working on it right now. So I always have my guys working on these houses because where you get overextended is taking too long. The market can shift, right? Even though we try to be in and out in 90 days, the market can shift in 90 days. So we try to get in and out as quickly as we can to make sure that we're not in that. In Templeton, I know, because I've seen some of the stuff, some of them will go a little longer, right? Because he'll have all these projects and he doesn't have enough people to get to them. We all have the same problem.
Yeah.
And he might be 120 days, 180 days by the time he gets to all of them. You know, he's moving all of them through, and that's where you get stuck. You've got to be able to move quickly enough. The new construction stuff that I'm doing right now is a prime example. I mean, I've been on this stuff for 2 years. 2 years ago, the market was great. Now it's not as good. It's multifamily, so it's a little bit different, but still, like it's just something that is making me nervous. Like it'll be done this week, or I'm sorry, this next week. It'll be done. We'll have CFO on it. It'll be ready to go. And it's like, the price point and everything is not where I was hoping it was going to be. But
what's your plan with that one? Are you gonna flip it, or are you gonna rent it out?
So we're going to have multiple exit strategies on it. So I'm going to list it for sale, I'm going to list it for rent, and then I'm going to start the process of doing the refinance on it as well because I've got a hard money loan on part of it. So I'm going to start it all at the same time, and whatever happens, happens. If I sell it, great. If I don't sell it, then obviously I'll get it rented, and then I'll just keep it and put it in the rental portfolio.
How many units?
It's only 2.
2 units, duplexes?
That one is. The other one I have that we're working on is a 4-plex. And that'll probably be the same.
And it took you 2 years to build this?
Between purchase of the property, design, getting through the city, getting permits, and then the construction.
Wow.
Yep, 2 years. So I haven't done a lot of new construction stuff because of that, because it's such a long term. But I have a client that I've known for years, and he's been doing mostly single family.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, let's partner up. Let's start doing some multifamily. I said, okay. So we actually had 4 of them together. He was doing some other ones, but we had 4 together. We already did 2 of them and sold 2 of them. And then these are the last 2 that we have right now. He wants to do more projects, which I'm okay with, but I want to finish these, right? I want to get done with these. The other 2 were okay, but not home runs, which is okay. But I want to finish these and see where they are and see what happens. And even though I've watched them and everything, it's all good. But back to your point, I don't want to get overextended. I've got a lot of my cash. Even though I did hard money, on hard money new build stuff, they don't finance 100%, right? So you got to put 20%, plus they won't do anything with soft costs. And soft costs on these things are like, your permits, your architect, engineering, whatever. I mean, at each one of these projects, I'm about $60,000 a piece just into that part of it, plus the 20%. Like, it ends up being a lot of cash.
You're tying up your cash for the next 24 months.
Yeah, several $100,000.
Yeah,
just in those projects. So it's okay because it's that separate bucket, right, that I put in, even though it's actually running under my same like flipping entity.
Yeah.
It's a separate bucket mentally for me. I just kind of moved that cash over there and just said, I know that that's going to be tied up and let's see how it works out. And we'll see. It's just like anything, timing of the market. If we would have started those a couple years before and ended up selling them in, 21, we would have made a killing on them, right?
Yeah.
You don't know. You can't time the market. So it's all just about continuing to move through. Because if you try to time the market, you're going to miss it. And you're not going to know the market. You're not going to know what you don't know. So we didn't know that going into some of these. These are the first time we were doing some multifamily stuff. And there's stuff that we didn't know. Even the builder client of mine that did a lot of single families, like, wow, I didn't know we had to do this or this permit or this inspection. Or, it's minimal, but it adds time and, a little bit of cost. And we now know we have to do these things. And we both had that discussion yesterday and said, look, we know this. We want to move into some other stuff, but we need to get through this all the way through to make sure, see where we are. Did we make any money? And what could we cut on it when we do another one?
Yeah.
Right. What can we do to make this faster and more efficient, less cost to be able to make some more money? Because we know that when that happens, once we get past these next ones, we'll be able to make more money.
Yeah.
So we're looking at that, and we'll see. But like I told him, I want to finish these, right? I want to get them done. I want to get the cash back in my account, whether we refinance them and keep them as rentals or we sell them. Either way, it doesn't matter. I want to get through that because if you're not in, you're not going to know what's going on. So you try to time the market right and you jump in this year, next year, whatever, saying the market might be better.
Yeah.
You're going to make the same mistakes.
Correct.
And yes, if the market goes up, you might make some money. But long term, to try to really scale or do anything with it, you can't. So the only way is to be in it all the time. And all the guys that do the fix and flips and wholesale, everything changes, right? All the time, constantly. You have to be in the game to know what's going on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So how do you manage all of this? I mean, you got a real estate team. You have 6 flips right now, personal flips at any given time.
Yep.
You got 3 Airbnbs, 3 short-term rentals.
Currently, yep.
Yep. You got a storage facility.
Yep. And building another one.
And building another one here.
Here.
And then you have 2 express
Commission Express.
Commission Express.
Yep.
So I mean that's multiple entities, multiple businesses, and you say you spend about 40 hours a week working all together.
That was only through the winter.
That was with the winter.
Yeah. I mean, I pretty much work. I say all the time, right? But it's not. I'm not working all the time, right?
What does your day look like? Like, say, for example, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
I'm not an early bird, so usually I'll get up 8 o'clock ish.
What time do you go to sleep?
Usually around 11 or midnight, something like that. So I'll get up 8 o'clock ish, get breakfast, jump on the computer, check some of my trading accounts and stuff. Because obviously we all have other stuff, right? Stocks and whatever, and different things. So I jump on, check that stuff, check my emails and texts, whatever might be going on that side, which is maybe some offers or somebody sent over a bid for, like roof this morning, things like that. So I'll spend a couple hours doing that. And then it's just whatever at that point in time. I don't necessarily work really after that. I'll answer calls, text, emails, whatever I need to. But usually I'm out doing something, whether I'm driving, if I'm here in Phoenix, I'm driving properties to check them or whatever and see, or I was out fishing yesterday. So I went from like 11 till 8 p.m. Or no, it's the day before, I'm sorry. Out fishing at Lake Pleasant. So I'll just do stuff like that, whatever it is. And during that time, I'll, answer whatever texts or emails that come in. So I'm working, but I'm not, right?
Yeah,
like I'm out on the lake. I'm not a big golfer or whatever, but we'll be 4-wheeling or we'll be at the cabin. We'll be out on the razors or, hiking or mountain biking or whatever it is. And then in the evening, again, it seems like for whatever reason, There's always stuff in the evening that I have to kind of clean up. I don't know why it is, but somewhere between 4 and 8 p.m., it seems like I get phone calls, texts, emails, whatever that I've got to take care of. And it's not consistent. And some days I shouldn't say I never have anything. I always have something, but it could be 10 minutes or it could be 2 hours.
Sure.
And even if it's 2 hours, it's typically not straight 2 hours. It might be 30 minutes and then 30 minutes later I get answers back and have to respond again or, something.
Yeah.
So that's a very typical day, but that's 7 days a week though, is pretty much like that for me.
So if let's say you have your agents calling you Saturday or Sunday, you're responding.
I'm responding to them.
You're responding to that. What about your crews? They work 7 days a week, or
they work 6 days a week?
6 days a week. So are you overseeing your crew, or there's somebody else who's kind of like a project manager?
I have a main guy that kind of watches everything, and he's not really like project manager, but he is, right? He knows, he's been with me long enough. He knows what's going on, and I don't have to babysit him at all. They'll run through the whole day or whatever, and I may not hear from him for a week. Until he sends me, hey, here's what everybody's owed this week or whatever for paychecks. But very seldom do I hear from him. He knows what it is. He knows what we've got to do. He knows the baseboards we use. He knows the trim. He knows the doors. He knows all that stuff. He'll notify me, hey, we're finishing this. You need to call the painter, or, if I let him call the painter, he will. But, a lot of those guys I'll kind of set up. But some of them he'll set up too. He'll let the tile guy know, hey, we're done. You guys can get started. I'll hear from the tile guy. Like this morning, he started on the project I just told you, the drywaller's finished. So the tile guys rolled in there today. So he got a hold of me and said, hey, what tile do you want? What design? Send me some pictures. Here's what we used on the last one. Do you like this for here? I'm like, good. Let's go.
Yeah.
So 10 minutes, right, of text with him saying, yep, that works. This design, these colors. And I won't be at the project, right? It's very unlikely I'll even see that project again.
Yeah.
I probably won't even go again physically. They'll send me some pictures and whatever of it. And if I can, I like to go before the guys finish 100% just to walk it to make sure, any little details, but they're pretty good about it. I mean, they've been with me long enough that they usually know. I mean, very seldom do we miss something on there. It's minimal. And all the guys know, right? All the tile guys know me, the granite, the painters, all those guys, even though I hire all those guys separate, they all know what's expected from me. So they all say something. Hey, I saw this was a problem or that's a problem. They'll send me a picture or video, and then I'll call whoever it is, like, hey, what happened here? Oh, okay, I'll get back over and fix it, or whatever's going on. It's very minimal management on that side.
Yeah.
In Arizona. So I do the same thing in Georgia as well, but I don't do as many. I only do a couple a year back there, so it's a lot more management. In a way, I have a project manager that I've used back there, and he's great. So I rely on him. He sets up everything back there because I don't have all the connections he does. So he sets up everything for me back there. But I don't know the market as well. So I'm very leery. I don't buy as many projects back there because I just don't know it as well as I do here. I don't know all the costs and stuff, just like I was talking about, right? If you're not in the game, you don't know what it is.
Right.
So I'm trying to do more. I'm trying to get more comfortable with it, but it's just one of those things. It's a different animal than here, right? I got to worry about water intrusion back there and mold and stuff like that I don't really have to worry about here.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's a different animal on that side. And if I'm not physically there to see it, then it makes it tough. I am going because I'm headed back on Wednesday. And there's a project that I like, but I want to go physically see it myself. I could send that project manager over and look at it, and he would give me his opinion, and it would be fine. But I want to see it myself. It's actually not very far from our lake house. It's like 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back and look at it, and if I think it works, then I'll buy it, and we'll get them rolling on that project. And same thing, I'll be there. I'll stop by maybe once or twice throughout the whole project. But he's done 8 or 10 projects with me, that same project manager. So I'm comfortable with him making the decisions and running through it.
Yeah.
I pick the colors and whatever it is based on the neighborhood but at the same point, so much of it is honestly, it's very, very similar because it's not like we're doing a flip next door to each other, right? It's one over in this neighborhood, we can use the same type of materials, colors, product, everything. It doesn't matter because it's across town or whatever, so it doesn't matter. Makes it easier for the contractors because they know what I want. The houses all look very similar, but it's fine, right? It doesn't matter because they're not in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
But it makes my job way easier on that side. And then my wife runs the Commission Express business, so she runs that side of it, which is it's a crazy business. She works maybe 10 hours a week with it, maybe.
When you say crazy business, in a good way, crazy business, or like
it's unbelievable to me how many agents don't have money to pay their bills and they need that advance.
Wow.
So, like, I'll give you an example. So we've got like 80 clients that we work with, and we're always gaining.
So when you say 80 clients, these are 80 agents?
80 agents, all in Arizona.
Okay.
We only have the franchises are all in Arizona. So they have Commission Express has 2 franchises in Arizona, and we own both of them. So it's really one, entity essentially, right? But it's both franchises that they have. So they have Commission Express has, depending on the cities and stuff in different states and whatever they have, might have 1 or 2 or 3 franchises depending on the size of the city or the size of the state or whatever. So they have 2 in Arizona, and we own both of them. So we'll have an agent that will call us and say, hey, I've got this contract, right? It closes in, let's say 2 weeks is very common. It closes in 2, maybe 3 weeks. So not even 30 days, closes in 2 or 3 weeks. They'll be getting, I don't know, like say $10,000 commission. And they'll go, I need the commission. I need at least like $5,000 like today. I'm like, it closes in 2 weeks and you need that $5,000 right now? Like, yeah, okay. So we'll advance them, whatever it is, $5,000 or whatever, today. And then we get paid obviously in 2 weeks when it closes. But then they'll have another deal that may even be within that time frame that they get under contract. It'll be the same thing. And they'll ask us again for more money. It's like, we just gave you $5,000 last week. And this week you have another one, but that deal closes next week and you're going to get some cash. Oh, I have to have money to pay for whatever it is. Like, okay, that's crazy, but it happens all the time. And we'll have agents sometimes that will go, and they say part of it, I think, is the brokerage. So we had an agent just a couple weeks ago. They gave us, and we did an advance on Wednesday. It closed on Monday. So what's that, 5 days?
5 days.
The reason they said they did it was because even though it closed on Monday, they didn't get paid on Monday or Tuesday. Their brokerage took about a week or so to process commissions. Yeah.
Is it because there are some agents that are behind on their paperwork, right? And the brokers will hold their commission checks.
I don't know, but they're telling us, and we don't know, right? I'm not in that brokerage work, but they're telling us that they wouldn't get paid for a week or so after that, so they needed the money before that.
That's crazy. I mean, if they got their paperwork in check and it's all uploaded and it's compliance and everything like that, I mean, you should get paid within 24, the latest 48 hours.
Correct. Right. And some brokerages obviously pay right from title, right to them.
Right.
Some go to the brokerage and then, back to them or whatever. But I'm with you. But I don't know. Like you said, if they're behind on due, what it is, I don't know. No, it can't be. They can't be behind on dues because the broker has to sign off on the commission advance saying this is what it is. So if it's a $10,000 commission, we give them $5,000. That might be fine because the broker says, okay, the other $5,000 will pay, the dues or whatever that's owed to me. Yeah. But they have to sign off on them though. And so many times it's not that, like they might be getting a $10,000 commission and they want all of it, right? Which we won't give them all of it. We won't give them 10,000. We give them typically about 80% of it. So we would give them 8,000 on a $10,000. We give them 8,000. And then, we charge a 10% fee. So in that case, it would be $1,000, right? 10% of 10,000. So we give them 8,000 today. When we get their commission in 2 weeks or whatever it is, we get $10,000. We give them what we call a holdback of 10% back, which is $1,000. We give them that back to them. So it cost them $1,000. They ended up getting $9,000 in total commission in that particular instance. So we make $1,000 on our 8,000 out for 2-3 weeks. If anything goes wrong or whatever with it, they have 30 days from the closing date to be able to get us paid back. So whether it's from their cash, whether the closing got extended or delayed or whatever, they have 30 days. So if the closing date is on the 15th of May, they have till the 15th of June to make sure we get paid. If we don't, then whenever we do get paid, that holdback, that $1,000, we keep it. So then we keep the $2,000, they get nothing. So when we get the $10,000 commission, they get nothing back because it went past our 30-day grace period. So Yeah, so that's how it works. But yeah, it's amazing, how many agents use it and whatever. But it's minimal. My wife's got it down pretty good, and she can crank through these advances. But it does help agents that need it, right? They need that cash flow for whatever. They might not have had a closing for 2 or 3 months, and they do need it. And it's great. I have no problem, with it, and we'll give it to them. But like I said, I'm surprised how many agents use it. Literally almost every transaction too.
Same agents.
6, 7, 8 times a year.
So what happens in an event, let's say the deal, falls through, canceled at the last minute, they have no other transactions on the books?
So it doesn't usually happen. We do an underwriting prior to, and one of our underwriting conditions is to make sure that they're doing at least 6 transactions a year from them.
So if it's a brand new agent,
we won't even do the advance for them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we don't want to take that risk. But typically what happens, most agents do 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12 transactions a year. So they have one every month, every other month. So if that one doesn't close, cancels, whatever, like in your case, we replace it with their next deal. We also look at their average too. So we won't, let's say they have an average of $300,000 houses or whatever it might be, with a $9,000 commission average or whatever that amount might be. They get $1.5 million house and they get $45,000 commission. We're not giving them 45 grand. We're going to give them basically what their average is.
So you're going to give them the most you're going to give them is about $7,000, $8,000.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we might go a little more if it's an agent that's been with us for a while and we've had good history with them. But if it's a new agent, no way. Yeah, we'll give them 7. We need to limit our exposure because let's say that deal did cancel, right? They got the whole rest of the year of all their transactions to pay us back. If they even stay in the game or whatever, and it's a mess. So we just don't extend ourselves out to it. And this is all based on what our corporate tells us to do as well. We can do whatever we want for the most part, because it's our own cash that we're lending out.
So you're lending your own cash.
Our own cash.
This is not corporate cash.
Nope.
This is your cash.
Our cash. Yep. So it's our own cash that we're lending out. So we can take whatever risk we want, but based on what they have, they've been in business for 25 years. They say here's what you should do and here's what you shouldn't do. Because of all the time we've had, here's what we've seen, right? Here's the problems that we've seen, and here's where you get in trouble. And that's one of the problems is, like I said, new agent doing that. Somebody that says, hey, I got $1.5 million house and I normally do $300,000 houses. Or if it's a broker, like, there's a lot of brokers that own their own brokerage and they're the only agent, right? That's, I'm saying like that's them.
Yeah, solo brokerage owner. Yeah.
Because the broker has to sign. Well, they're the broker, right? So they're the one, as you know, in Arizona, the broker controls the commission. So they control their own commission. So they can sign off on it and then it comes in and then what, right? The broker says, no, don't give that to Commission Express. It's mine. So we have to be really careful with those ones too. But if they work for, somebody like your brokerage or whatever, and you guys sign off on it and say, yeah, it's, it's fine. It's all good. Then yeah, all day long, we'll do it. No problem. Because we know that you guys as the broker, right, are going to come back and back us to say, hey, I signed as the broker to say that commission goes to them. You didn't pay that on this last deal. So you just have another one that's closing on 1, 2, 3, 4 Main Street. You didn't pay them on Banana Street from last month. Yeah. I've got to take your commission from Main Street to pay them for Banana Street for last month. So we work a lot with the brokers. Their accounting departments.
Their accounting departments, right? So, like, out of curiosity, what is the kind of return on the money on a yearly basis? Yeah,
140% is what we average. Wow. Yeah, that's what on our cash out back in. It's 140%. That's what we average on an annual basis. Yeah, so it's good. It's good return.
It's very good return.
Yeah. So
it's pretty impressive.
Works out really well.
And it's your wife who's overseeing, who's managing.
Yeah, she
like
does.
You don't have like an army of employees or anything like that.
No, we don't need to. We don't do enough transactions in it.
Yeah.
I don't even know how many transactions she does, but she was just reading. We've owned the franchise for 4 years, and over 4 years, of course, it's turning whatever. She said we loaned out like $3.8 million is what we've loaned out over 4 years. Not 3.8. Just we're always moving at about 250, 300K basically is about what we're rotating all the way through there all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good. And like I said, it's about 10 hours a week at this point for her that she spends. Now, we could build it more, right? We could really get a sales team and really come out and push and knock on your door and say, hey, you know, here's our stuff or whatever. We just haven't done it. And there's other companies that do it.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of an extra. Honestly, it's mostly just my wife's play money, right? More than anything. She just uses it to, I pay her a wage through it. So she uses it. It's like, I don't really account for that money, right? She gets a paycheck every other week from that company. And the rest of it just kind of churns in there until we have a little extra in there. And then she takes a draw and puts it into another investment. Yeah. But she takes a little bit from it. You know, I don't even know what I pay her. I don't remember, but it's just her fun money, right? So I don't have to pull it out of anywhere else. That's her money.
That's her money.
Yeah.
I
don't know what she does with it.
How long have you guys been married?
We just celebrated 29 years.
Wow.
Yeah, we got married at 18. Like 4 days before I turned 19.
So you were 18 years old, and she was also 18.
18.
Wow.
Our birthdays are only 10 days apart.
Man.
Yeah.
I was 22. My wife was like 20, 19 years into 20.
Okay.
So we just celebrated recently 24 years.
Okay.
Together.
Yeah. So, you know, you go ups and downs and whatever.
Ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. But it's good. I mean, it's all good. And our kids are getting older. We've got a 23 and a 21-year-old. So they're trying to get their careers and get going. Actually, our youngest is going to come on my team here. So we'll see. I'm excited about that. So hopefully in the next month or so, he'll be all past all the stuff and be on the team with us. So we'll see. My oldest son is an electrician. He's finishing his last year as the apprenticeship program for the electrical union. So he's actually working at Intel right now.
Yeah.
Yep. Out there with all those everybody out there. So he was hoping to be at the
TMCS
plant. Yeah. But just because it was closer to home, because he lives over here. But they stuck him out there. But I said, look, once you finish your journeyman, which is in basically at the end of the year, he'll be done, but he has to have so many hours as well. Because of COVID, they started him a little bit late. So he'll probably be like April-ish by the time he's done with his hours. I said, once you get there, then you're a journeyman, you can go wherever you want for the most part.
Yeah.
You can kind of name your price essentially and say, hey, I only want to work here or do this or whatever. So yeah, right now they're making him grunt work, and they can because he has no choice. He's in the apprenticeship
but
program.
he's young, 23 years old. I mean,
exactly.
You know, so you got to earn his stripes.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So it's good.
Love it, man.
Yeah.
So I guess 5 years, 10 years. I mean, do you have any of those plans in place? Like, I mean, are you planning to do this for the rest of your life, or there's got to no? What's the plan?
I don't know. I guess I would say yes, but probably not to the scale that I am. So I just turned 48. My plan has been at 50 to basically be done if I want it to be. So I got 2 years left. Will I? Probably not. But I may pull back a little bit. But at the same point, like I said at the beginning, like I enjoy it. You know, I have fun with it. And especially if I bring on a TC or whatever, I'm going to unload some of that side from me, which is really the most part of my day anyhow.
Yeah.
So then I'll probably be bored. I'll probably start doing something else just because I always like doing something. I don't want to work 40 hours a week and grind through that, but I've done that for too many years, way more than 40 hours, right? I mean, especially during the air conditioning company days and stuff. I mean, it was easy to put in 70 hours a week, but, and originally, you know, I was climbing on roofs and attics. And so I put in my time on that side. So I don't want to do that. But I like spending time at the lake. I like spending time at the cabin and the forest and, you know, just doing that kind of stuff. So, but I don't see myself doing nothing. So like I said, 2 years is kind of my goal financially, at least, to say, okay, I can be done. I've got enough income and stuff from all the investments that I'm good. I can pay all my bills. Then it's a matter of what do I do, right? Do I actually stop or do I do something? I don't think so. I have a few friends. We've always ran in groups of older people. Yeah. So we have a lot of really good friends that are basically 10 years older than us that have retired recently or whatever. And they're always saying, well, I wish I had something to do. And some of them would like stop their landscaper because they wanted something to do. So they're mowing their yard. I'm like, I have no intentions, no desire to do that. So I would rather do what I'm doing now than mow my grass, right? So and I can do it. It's not like it's physical or hard or anything. So like I said, I just may back off a little bit, but I'm hoping my 21-year-old son, he gets going in it, that, maybe it'll take more than 2 years to really get him up to speed, but that's okay. If I think that he can handle it, then maybe I kind of pass some of it off to him.
Like you did with your dad.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see kind of what happens, but I mean, really that's the goal, right? Is in 2 years to say, and I could do it now, but at the same point, I'm 48. It's like, how long am I going to live? You do all that calculation, right? How long am I going to live? How much income do I have?
As long as the way I look at it, as long as you're waking up every morning and looking forward to it and you're enjoying it, and it's not like you're miserable with it. I mean, might as well just do it. I mean, what else there is to do?
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, how many fishing trips or how many golfing trips or how many beach? I mean, come on. At the end of the day, I mean, you just, we got to have a purpose in life, I think. Like, and every day when we wake up and I'm looking forward to like my calendar and everything, that's a purpose. That's being like, all right, there's something that I'm going to be able to accomplish today.
Sure.
And when you're retired, like, I feel like you lose that purpose.
I think so. Yeah. My friend that retired, he sold his company last year, like January of last year. And that's exactly where he is. He's the guy that stopped his landscape maintenance guy to do it because he needed that purpose. And I was fishing with him the other day and he's like, I literally need something.
Watch, he's going to start something else.
Yeah, but he said, we had this conversation because another friend is like, he likes volunteering, whatever. He's like, I can't make myself do it. He's like, if I'm going to do something, right? Because he's been an entrepreneur his whole life. If I'm going to get up and do something, I have to be somewhere at a certain time. He's like, I want to make some money at it, right? I don't want to just do it for free, even though financially is no problem. I could do it. He's like, I'm just not wired that way.
Yeah.
It's like, I need to have a purpose, but I don't need to make a lot. He's like, if I made $1,000 a week, I could care less. Like, that's fine. And I'll spend the time doing it. He's just like, I have to get something from it. Like, I get it. I mean, everybody's wired different. And, some people are all about volunteering all the time, whatever, and it's great. But some people are not. And I think when you're an entrepreneur and you build businesses, you really have a hard time doing that. You give money away to them. You'll give some of your time.
Yeah.
But you're just not wired to be like, I'm going to give everything to everybody because I had to work hard to get where I'm at. No, and I'll work hard to continue to keep getting there, but I'm not going to just give it all away all the time.
I cannot see myself retiring at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I want to be in a position where I don't have to do it.
Sure.
Right. But I still, like, for example, the stages of my life when I'm in the 60s and 70s, I would love to mentor up and coming entrepreneurs, business owners.
Yeah.
Versus kind of like being completely out of it and just, spending time on a golf course. I just don't see myself doing that.
Yep. I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody I know that's retired is kind of the same thing. They're just like, gotta have something to do. My neighbor at the lake house, he just retired from IBM. He was there for like 30 years. And he had a non-compete. He retired and he had a non-compete or whatever, and it was up and he could go back to work as of mid last year. His name's Steve. I'm like, Steve, what are you going to do? Are you going to go back to work? And he's from England, so he's got the English accent or whatever. It's great. But anyhow, he's like, I like working the land. Like, what do you mean? He's like, he calls the land his house, right? That's what he called. I like working land. So he's out there every day. This dude's 60 years old. He's out there pulling weeds, shoveling mulch, building a little patio, redoing the stairs, like whatever it is. He's just out there busy. So we weren't there all winter. So we got there this spring. He's like, come on, I got to show you. I'm like, what? So he redid the bathroom and whatever. Like, he did stuff inside the house because it was cold. So he did all this stuff inside the house. He had to show me all this stuff. I'm like, you need to go back to work. But he's the same way. He's like, if I could find something that was very meaningful, I don't even need the money. It's not about that.
Yeah.
He's like, but it's just hard for me to find something that I feel is meaningful to do it. So he just likes tinkering around there. And he spent 2 weeks in England at his mom's house rebuilding the shed for her. And he's like, when it was all said and done, it probably would have been better and easier for me just to tear it down, throw it away, and buy a new one. But he built a whole new roof on it and everything. It was just crazy. But that's back to that point, right? You got to have something to do and something that's meaningful. And he was like, look, my mom is, she needed it done. And so I went back and got it done for her. And what else was I going to do for 2 weeks? I couldn't just sit there and talk to her for 2 weeks. So, she made lunch for me and whatever. And I worked on the shed for 2 weeks. So. Yeah. So I think that's what it is, right? No matter where you're at, you have to do something that is meaningful for you and helps you get up every morning. And I think the people that just retire and stop completely, no matter what you do.
Yeah, it's just, I think in turn, almost how you die.
They die.
Like I see my parents, when they're retired, I mean, you could see it just went downhill.
Decline in health
absolutely.
And mental and
everything,
physical both.
Everything.
Yeah, because that's what they're, for however many years of their life, right? 20, 30, 40 years, whatever they worked, that's what they were doing something every day. And now all of a sudden they don't have to.
Yeah.
And it's still, even if you love golf or you love fishing or you love hunting or what, you can't do that all the time.
No.
We just, nobody's wired for that. So you have to do something. And I think, like you said, if you don't do something, that you'll literally die in it. Some people faster than others.
Yeah.
So back to that, I think I'll probably honestly be doing the same thing in 5 or 10 years. I mean, it just, you have to have goals though, right? I think that's, everybody does. If you have a goal, and I feel like, and I'm teaching my kids the same thing, you got to have short-term and long-term goals, right? Something within a month or 2 or 3, a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. And you can be flexible on that, whatever it is. But if you don't have goals, then what are you doing, right? You're just grinding, and I feel like if you don't have those goals, you make mistakes and decisions that you shouldn't have. If you would have had the goal, you would have done something differently. So when you have that goal or that kind of picture and you're looking at that, and some people write them down, some people have a mental, some people put them on their mirror, they see them every day, right? Whatever it is, whatever works for you. And sometimes it's cheesy or whatever, doesn't matter. I'm doing the same thing with my nephew right now. He's doing a vision board is what he's doing. His goals in the next 5 years on a vision board so he can see them. I'm like, hey, whatever you want to do, I don't care. So he's literally like pictures of cars and houses and whatever that he wants on there.
Yeah.
But I think that's important. If you have that goal and you have that vision, then you're going towards it all the time, and you can break it down, right?
Yeah.
So you can say, okay, here's where I want to be in a year, a month, or 10 years, whatever it is, and go, okay, what do I got to do every day to get there? And it doesn't have to be like down to the penny and down to the hour. And you just kind of have a roadmap.
You're absolutely right. I mean, you got to have a roadmap, right? And a goal is I mean, goal can be so many things, right? But ultimately, like, as you get closer to that goal, you're going to go through so many peaks and valleys and so many situations where you're about to give up or you question things, right? And you're like, maybe this is not for me and all of that. But every time when you overcome it, it gives you that additional layer of confidence.
Correct.
Right.
Agreed.
And again, these are all learning lessons. Right. And you get better and better and better. And even though, let's say, you don't reach that goal, you just during that process alone, you just get better.
Right.
You learned.
Yeah.
Right. So you can have all these goals in the world. And this is important. I goal plan and all of that. But for me, it's not really achieving that goal. It's about, honestly, just being part of that journey.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And that's great. That's all you have to have that. And I think if you don't have that, no matter what career you do, you just get lost.
Oh, you're flying blind.
Yeah. But I think in, obviously we're talking more real estate. I think in real estate, it's even more important because we can get so lost so quickly here because it becomes about our clients' goals and stuff because we're talking to them, right? We're trying to build that rapport with them. And before you know it, like you're kind of tied up into your clients and their goals and what's going on, and you forget about what you're trying to do because you're just trying to build that rapport with them and be friendly with them, and you just forget really quickly. So I feel like with real estate agents, it's probably more important than anything because that becomes an issue, like I said, because you have to be. That's what it is, right? We're customer service. You want to build that relationship with them.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you won't be here in 3 years or 5 years, right?
Yeah.
That real estate is all about that relationship and then staying with that relationship, making sure that and you don't have to be crazy with it, but social media is great to continue to stay up with them, shoot them a text, phone call, whatever it is. But you've got to make sure you have your own goals in place because you can get just down that rabbit hole with your clients, especially if you start becoming pretty close. Because it happens, right? Sometimes you do. Yeah. Some clients you just click with and it's great. And another piece I think is important is who you're around, right? Who you're hanging out with. And I think there's an old saying, something like that, right? Show me your closest 5 friends and I'll show you who
Yeah. Show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I think, one of the reasons why I'm at where I'm at, to be honest with you, is being in a room with people that have done what I'm trying to do.
Sure.
Right. So like example, you having a team and you have agents that are kind of like I wouldn't say copying you, because I think we're all kind of our own individuals, but modeling after you.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
Right. And this is healthy.
None
right?
of them have the same.
No, exactly.
No. Yep.
Absolutely. It's like going back to what you said about the real estate agents in general. Like when I talk to my agents or the real estate agents that I coach, I said, like, the number one thing that you got to be talking about or focusing on is lead generation.
Right.
100%.
Like
selling real estate is byproduct of lead gen.
Right.
Right. Customer service is the byproduct of lead gen.
Right.
Like first and foremost, if you really want to grow your business, you have to be marketing, you have to be lead generating, right? So that's number one. Like that's how you started your real estate career.
Correct. Yep.
You understand the value and importance of lead gen, going with Zillow, going with Realtor.com and all of that stuff.
Right. Sphere of influence, all that. Yep.
Absolutely.
All comes to play.
So let's say, for example, aside from that, anything else that you would recommend somebody who's really trying to get their business off the ground, especially with everything that's been going on with this NAR settlement thing and there's so much uncertainty, so much negativity.
Right.
If you're, let's say, an average real estate agent or an agent that is trying to kind of level up when it comes to their business, what would be your suggestions, your recommendations to them?
I think that's, like you said, is really number one is the lead gen. But I think some of the pieces that a lot of people forget about is their sphere of influence that they know, right? Everybody that they know on a daily basis or whatever. But lots of people now, social media is a huge way for them to connect.
Yeah.
No different than like our high school reunion is coming up. My wife is actually helping plan it next month. We graduated with, I don't even remember, 600-700 people, right? Whatever it is. And it's our third year and there's like 33 people, I think, that have said they're coming. I'm like, that's insane. But I think what it is so many people that I talk to were like, well, I just see what's going on social media with everybody. So why do I need to go see them? I don't care to see them. I see what I want to see on social media and that's good enough.
Yeah.
Use that to your advantage and connect with them, right? Yeah. Your friends or whatever on Facebook, like reach out to them. You know, it's exactly what you did, right? You reached out to me on Facebook, the same thing. It's not impersonal anymore or anything. I think that's a big thing that a lot of people, again, are scared of, right? They just like, well, I see them on Facebook, but how do I know that they are or not? Or, you know, so it's like, it doesn't matter. Just reach out to them. It's not evasive. And if they feel like it is, then they won't respond back.
Yeah.
And if that's what it is, then great. Don't get upset if they don't respond, because some people won't, just like your leads, they won't, even though you might be friends on Facebook or whatever, and you know them personally or what. They don't respond. It is what it is. Don't take it personal.
Like, look, you said yourself, you're generating about 400 leads every single month.
Right.
It doesn't mean you're converting 400 of them to become your clients. Hell no.
No.
I mean, you'll be lucky if you get about 15, 20 of them to convert.
Correct. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now,
and that's probably realistic.
Realistic number, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop you from continuing generating 400 leads every single month.
Correct. Yep. And I think that's important. I think I tell that to my agents all the time. Look, I'm giving you leads, but you need to work, just like you said, lead generating on yourself and getting out there. As cheesy as open houses are, you're meeting people, right? It gets them in their industry in front of people so that they see and talk to people. It gets them more comfortable talking to people. And then use that to go wherever, when you go to the bar or restaurant or wherever you're going, it doesn't matter. Whatever you're doing, sports or pickleball, right, is big or whatever, it doesn't matter. Get you out of that and get you start talking about what you do and what's going on more. So I think for new agents, I think open houses are great just for that part of it. Just getting them in that, used to it, in their zone.
Yeah.
Right. They're in this house and it makes it comfortable for them. They have control because they're in the house. They're holding it open. They know what's going on. Somebody walks in the door. They don't know who they are or whatever. Like, talk to them. Gets them out of that and gets them going. So I encourage all of my newer agents for sure to do it. But, you know, it helps even with some existing agents, because sometimes you kind of get stuck in that route as well. And you have to get
back to the basics.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just understand, you know, where your clients are coming and what they're looking at.
Yeah.
Because you may have a client that you're going out showing or whatever, and you have in your head what they're looking for, but it may not be what they're, and you're almost kind of forcing yourself on them because you know what's really best, you know what really works and what doesn't and what to look for. But some of these people, that they've never bought a house in their life, or they haven't bought one in 20 years or whatever, so they don't know anything. So seeing that, I think, in an open house presentation is good for them. So I think that's another really big piece that helps them on that side of it. So That's what I push all my new agents to do that. And so open houses, social media, plus of course working all the leads and everything I give them.
I'm the same exact way. I mean, if I'm talking to a brand new agent right now that has a dry pipeline and doesn't have a big sphere, I was like, look, just do like 4 or 5 open houses a week.
Yeah.
Like if you drop me in the middle of nowhere right now and I don't have any listings, I don't have any marketing budget or any of that stuff, I'm doing open houses.
100%.
That's the most effective way and the most inexpensive way to probably get in front of more buyers and sellers.
Right. And I think another piece of it that I hear from agents don't realize that you can do an open house for any open house, right? Or for any house. Yeah. You have to contact the agent. You have to But a lot of them don't understand that. They're like, especially if they're on a team or at a certain brokerage or whatever, they think, oh, I could, only do no, you can. It doesn't matter.
My first open house, it was a completely other brokerage, listing agent, not even my listing. I didn't even have my own signs. I borrowed open house signs from that listing agent.
Did you really?
From another brokerage. Awesome. I didn't know that I couldn't do it at that time, but I did it, right? But guess what? I picked up a buyer/seller. And since then, I think they're did like about 8 or 9 transactions with me.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
My first open house.
From your first one, yeah.
Open house.
Not everybody gets that lucky, but you will, if you're doing 3, 4, 5 open houses a week. Yeah, you're going to get that client. They're going to be there.
Well, you're going to get better.
Yes.
Like if you do open houses on a weekly basis, you're going to get better.
Right.
Having conversations with people, answering their questions, handling the objections, and all of that, you're going to get better.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, and most people are more comfortable with that in a face-to-face than they are over the phone. People get really scared over the phone. They might be able to do text or email, but over the phone, which is what you have to do to get that relationship started, or in person, I think in person really helps you get past that. And I think it also helps you on the phone, right? So when you're back on the phone now, calling those leads that come in or whatever, you're a lot more comfortable because you've handled those objections. So you're like, I got it.
Well, it also a change of scenery. Like so again, like if you're not getting anywhere with the phone, just go to open houses. While you're there, you can still be on the phone. I mean, if you're not getting that many people coming in, 100%, just be on the phone.
Yeah.
Right. But like if you're in real estate and you're doing this full time, that means at least 40 hours a week it has to be prospecting / getting in front of people.
Yep.
That's the way, whether it's open houses, whether it's over the phone, whether it's sitting in a coffee shop and talking to people and building a rapport that way.
Right.
You got to get in front of people.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. Yep.
So,
that's what it is.
All right, my friend. Well, it was almost 2 hours.
Yeah, we burned some time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how can someone get in touch with you? Where can they find you? The best way.
Best way, like my social media is easy, right? Because I watch all the time. It's just my name, Lenny, Lenny, last name Behie. Everywhere is that way. Of course, being an agent, when you search my name, it pulls up everything, right? Yeah. So my team websites, which has all my contact information on it, all my social media information on it, pulls up all the social media. I mean, just my name. My name's not like John Smith, right? Lenny, Lenny, Behie. You're going to pull me up. And yeah, so any social media, I've got pretty much all of them, is a good way. Phone.
And you reply,
text,
you respond
email. I respond to everybody.
To all of them. Yep.
Unless, of course, they're like, hey, I'm not going to respond to just hey.
Don't you just hate those?
Yeah.
I get them like 3-4 times a day.
Not doing that. Sorry. Yeah.
No.
Not going to. If you say, hey, I saw you here, I saw this, whatever, I'm reaching out. Could you help me with this? I have a question for you, whatever. Like, oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, I'll reach out to you or whatever. I'm really big in the car community. So I've got tons and tons of connections in the car community.
What do you drive now?
I drove Rolls-Royce Cullinan today here.
Right.
But I have a Lamborghini Aventador. I've got a Lamborghini Storado, the Rolls-Royce Cullinan. I've got a Jeep Wrangler 392 with the factory Hemi in it. I've got a C8 Corvette. Then a bunch of other just like kind of daily whatever.
Which one is your favorite to drive?
It depends on where you're going, what you're doing. The Rolls-Royce Cullinan is like the ultimate comfort.
Is it
quiet? I mean, it's incredible. It's got 600 horsepower, twin turbo V12 engine in it, so it moves. But it's very comfortable, very quiet. massage seats, air conditioning, heat, you know, whatever, like just quiet and fun. If you want to go out and be like obnoxious and like be in your face, that Lamborghini Aventador is like nothing else. I mean, it shoots like 6-foot flames out the back of it. It's loud. It's obnoxious. It's
shoots
very
out flames.
Flames, yeah, flames out the back, out the tailpipe. Yep.
Whoa.
So the downshifts, just the sound of that V12, it's so raw. Yeah, it's in your face all the time, and it's a black car, but I wrapped it purple. Mm-hmm. So it's right there, right? It's in your face all the time.
Yeah, loud.
Yep.
Obnoxious.
Wherever you are, even if you're riding in it, seeing it, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, you know what it is. It's a very recognizable car, right? Like, a lot of people know what McLarens and Ferraris, whatever, but everybody knows what a Lambo is, right? They're very recognizable. So I have it for that purpose, right?
Yeah.
I love the car. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. But I have those cars for that side of it. It helps me dramatically with everything, right? It's like kind of shows that success. It creates conversation. People are excited about them. I pull up in any one of those cars to any house or any construction site or anything, like the world stops, right? And all of a sudden it's like people will talk to you, and it just breaks down that barrier. And whether you're a car person or not, you pull up in one of those cars, or they see it on social media or whatever, like it just opens up conversation. And that's the reason why I have them. I mean, and they're fun, but, and then I've got a ton of group of friends that we go do stuff with the cars all the time. We do rallies and, charity events, and just, so again, it opens up that sphere for me to be able to do those things with those people that I might not otherwise, right? I mean, I'm hanging out with guys that you've got 50, 100 times the amount of money that I have, right? I mean, they're multi-millionaires, you know, some of them in the hundreds of millions. I would never have that connection without these cars. Mm-hmm. I'm not, just not who I am, right? I mean, I'd usually shorts and a t-shirt type of guy. And, you know, I'm not in that realm until I got into the cars. I got into them like, I don't know, probably about when I sold the company, 2013, 14 range. Mm-hmm. And it just opened up the world on that side, just completely different. So it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. And like I said, it's just something to do and creates tons of conversation. And so I get tons of people following and commenting, and
on social media, probably you're getting a lot of likes and because of
tons
that.
of stuff. Yeah. And I try to support these guys as much as I can. I got a couple young guys right now that are trying to start like some car events and stuff, you know, smaller, like BMWs and, you know, that type of Mustangs and Camaros. And so I pull up in one of those cars in their car event, and it just shuts down the show. So I'll send them a message or whatever and say, hey, all right, I'll be there in 15 minutes. It's like, oh my gosh. So they like clear everybody, and I pull right up front. And so it's just fun in that side. And it helps them too, because now they use my cars on like all their social media and all their flyers. And
are you getting any like pushback or you know, any haters out there on social or on the streets where like, oh, look at this guy, you know? No, none of that.
I mean, such a minimal amount, it doesn't matter. Like, it's 99.9% of it is all positive. You have, you know, the Karens out there or whatever that'll say something. It's like, whatever, you just keep moving, because 10 more people behind them or whatever are like, oh my gosh, this is fun. Can I sit in it? Can I take a picture? Can I, you know, can you rev it? Can you whatever it is? Like, I've never seen one up close, whatever it is. And, you know, I'll talk to them about it and let them look at it and get pictures with them. Like, hey, let me take your picture or whatever. Like, but with the Rolls Royce isn't as much, but when I bring the Lambos, I have to usually, depending on what I'm doing, if I have to stop somewhere, I have to plan about an extra 30 minutes to an hour.
No way.
Because like I go to a gas station just to fill up with gas. It's 10 minutes. You're normally in and out. It takes me a half hour because people want to stop and talk and take pictures or whatever it is.
The purple one.
Both of them.
Both of them.
Yeah. Both of them. Yeah. They want to stop and take pictures or whatever. And I've had Ferraris and other Lambos and stuff, but all of them, they've all been the same way. All been the same.
So which one do you think is more popular? Like, is it Lambo or is it Ferrari?
Lambo. Yeah. Like, across the board, it's more popular. The Ferraris in the world of Ferraris is mostly older gentlemen that own them, 60 plus. So when you're like in that realm because I had a Ferrari for like 2 or 3 years. When you're in there and you're trying to do like it, that's just what it is. It's all those guys, and it's very kind of prestigious. It's just a different culture there, which isn't bad. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just very, very different. They don't want you to modify the cars. They don't want them all stock. It's all about like what options are on your car, what was from the factory, like is it matching, how many owners was it? Like it's very much like that, which is okay. It's not a bad thing. But when you go to the Lambos, it's all about kind of in your face, and you have fun with it. Yeah. That's why I couldn't wrap a Ferrari purple, right? There's no way. But I can wrap this Lambo purple, and people love it. Like it's just fun and different, and which I've just found is it's just more fun. They're much harder to see out of. They're much harder to drive than a Ferrari is. The Ferrari is very easy to drive. You can see out of it. Just the windshield is, more straight up and down. Lambo's really flat. You can't see anything behind you. So when you're going and you got to change lanes, I got pulled over like 6 months ago, just getting off the freeway because you have to kind of speed up to see, okay, I passed the car, now I can get over, right? Because you can't see what's back here. You have a huge blind spot. So when I sped up to get over, of course, they're loud and obnoxious. And, I sped up. I don't even know what I was, probably did 90 or 85 or whatever to get around. I don't even know. The cop pulls me over and I was like, look, I told him this is what I had to do, right? I can't see. And he's like, I get it, whatever. And he's like, look, I would have probably done the same thing if I were you. He's like, just, keep it under control or whatever. Here's a warning. And that was it. But I got pulled over for it, but that's what it is. So where the Ferrari you can see, McLaren's you can see, most all the other cars you can see a little bit more. Lambo's the one that you literally can't see anything. Like you've got here and that way. That's it.
Wow.
Can't see anything. I mean,
is there like a backup camera or anything like that? I mean,
yeah, there's backup camera on the newer ones.
On the newer ones.
Yeah, the older ones have no backup camera. You have sensors and backup cameras on the newer ones.
Yeah.
So when you're going slow, but when you're going down the freeway or the road, you can't see anything.
Right.
Yeah. So you just have this massive blind spot from here back.
Yeah.
But again, they're pretty loud and obnoxious, and most people kind of stay out of your way. And so here's another funny thing that most people is they get the cars or whatever, and they have no idea. I'll pull right up front, right? If we go to a store, shop, anywhere, I'll pull as close to the front door as I possibly can. And everybody's like, why would you park that car right in the front? Why wouldn't you park it way out there where there's nobody? I'm like, because watch, you park out there and somebody's going to park right next to you. And nobody's watching it. So right up front, everybody watches it. Everybody takes pictures. I don't care. I would rather that, right? If it's way out there, that's when you're going to get the haters because somebody's not seeing it and they're going to key the car or do something stupid like that. If it's right up front, nobody touches it because everybody's there taking pictures the whole time. So yeah, so that's kind of a funny thing that I learned with these cars that's the best way to do. Just pull it right up front, like you own the place.
Yeah. What about the maintenance cost on these? I mean, it's got to be like pretty high.
No, it's actually really low. So
really?
Yeah, you'd be surprised. That's a whole nother thing in this. So people think, oh my gosh, it's expensive, whatever. I'm trying to remember all the cars. I have not sold a car yet that I haven't made money on. I've made money on every single car.
Did you, hold on, you buy them brand new or you buy them used?
I've only bought 2 brand new. But I've made money on those brand new ones even. And all the other ones I bought used. My Rolls-Royce Cullinan is the only one I'm going to end up losing money on whenever I sell it. But I didn't buy that for that purpose. I bought it for a tax write-off because it's over 6,000 pounds. So I bought it in 21. I needed the write-off that year. I made a bunch of money and I needed the write-off. So I'm like, look, I can take a loss on it because I'm either paying the government or I'm going to drive the car.
Driving Cullinan, yeah.
So I decided to drive the Cullinan instead of pay the government.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid $400 for that one.
$400?
Yeah.
Brand new?
No, used. It was used. Yeah, it was a 20. It was a year old. I think sticker on that one was like $550-ish, something like that. And I paid $400 for it, which at the time I thought I got a good deal on it. And I did overall, but market was a little bit higher. Those cars just don't hold the value as much as like the Lambos do and the Ferraris do. They all hold their value really, really well. So, but back to maintenance costs, like basically you're really putting tires on, oil changes, batteries. That's really about it. It's about all you're doing. But I don't drive these cars 30,000 miles a year, right? I drive them, but I put maybe 5,000 miles a year on them. So oil change every 10,000 miles. So, or it's supposed to be once a year, but so about every year and a half, I do an oil change. The Aventador is the most expensive. It's like $800 for the oil change in that. The other cars, like the Huracans, which is this Dorado I have, like $300 for the oil change. Tires, they last about 10 to 15,000 miles, but it's the same thing, right? Driving 5,000 miles a year, so they last 3 years, easy. Tires are about $400 to $600 a piece, depending on fronts or rears or what it is. Tags are the most expensive, kind of yearly, thing on it. Like the Aventador tags, and the Cullen or whatever, it's the same thing. They're like $5,000 a year for tags. That's like the most expensive piece of it for Arizona, right?
Yeah.
Which is why you see a lot of these guys that register them in Montana, because they have like I think it's $35 or $40 for the year. That's it.
But can you drive here though? I thought there was just some sort of like a limit.
Well, there is. So if they drive them all the time, it's best to just pay the piper and pay Arizona.
Yeah.
If you drive them once, twice a year, you can do Montana is fine, because the cops probably won't pull you over and give you too much grief. But if you drive it all the time and they kind of see you on a regular basis, they're going to pull you over. They know better. They know what's going on. These cops aren't dumb. But if the car's not normally here, or if even it's here but it doesn't get driven, then it's fine. But I drive mine, so that's why I pay the tags and do it.
Yeah.
But yes, technically you're not supposed to, unless you're visiting. There's some rules to it. How long you're allowed to be here and whatever without having plates in Arizona and that type of thing. So, but it does get you out of that side of it, and it gets you out of the taxes when you purchase it. But there's stipulations to a lot of those too, where financing is becoming more and more difficult in Montana. So if you want to finance the car or lease it or do anything, that becomes an issue. Where obviously it's in Arizona, you don't have that issue. And I lease the Lambos so that I can write them off. Because on your taxes, if it's a leased car, you can write off 100%. Even though we're in real estate, any career, any company you have, it's really hard to write off a Lambo, right? See that on there, it's like, but it's a lease. My accountant's like, it's a lease. So
you can write it off.
Just write it off. There's no question. Use it for advertising. I see it on your social media. I see you having stuff, whatever. He's like, no problem. I'll write off the lease payment. No problem at all.
Yeah.
So I lease those for that, only for that reason. Otherwise I don't get the write off, right? So why not? I might as well write them off. So I do that. But you can't just go buy any car. Like there's specific ones, even when you get in Lambos and whatever, that you need to buy, and you need to buy them at the right price. And, but yeah, overall, like I said, I've made money on every one of them. So we'll see. We'll see kind of as that continues. Of course, the car market and whatever has been really good for, quite a while, but it's been a little slower the last year or so. But we'll see as time goes on. But so far I've done well. But even if I end up losing on it, it's not going to be dramatic, right? I might lose 10 or 20 grand, but I wrote it off.
No, you're writing off. Yeah. And then plus on top of it, you're enjoying it. I mean, that's also important.
And it's creating income.
Yeah. It's creating, and plus, like you said, connections, relationships, opens up, more doors and opportunities.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing what it changes for sure.
Wow.
Yeah. So not that I suggest anybody go buy a Lambo, but when you get to the point where you can afford to buy something like that and you're in this world, do it.
What would be the lease payments for something like that?
Of course, it depends on which car you buy or whatever, but for the most part, like you could get into a Lamborghini Huracan, kind of a base one, for about $2,500 a month or so. So 30K down, $2,500 a month. And then, like I said, your tags, whatever, you probably, I would say on average, it probably costs you on a car like that about $5,000 a year, besides gas, obviously. But that's probably about what it costs you. Well, maybe a little bit more with your insurance, because insurance is probably a couple $100 a month. A car like that's probably around $300 a month in insurance.
Yeah.
On top of it. But as far as like tags, maintenance costs, whatever, probably $5,000 a year covers it for sure. So yeah, so really when you look at it all, I mean, cost of ownership is fairly inexpensive.
Fairly expensive, absolutely.
I mean, considering you know what it is,
and then the opportunities you get in meeting people and all of that is
but you can't.
Priceless.
You have to drive and you have to go and do in social media and whatever. You can't just park it in the garage, right? That doesn't do you any good.
Yeah,
you got to get out there, go to these car shows. Once you get in that world, there's car shows every day here in Phoenix through the summer and everything. Way more through the wintertime, right? From they start pushing early now, September to April or May, every single day, and big shows on the weekends, every single weekend. So, and the people you're meeting there, I mean, it just opens a whole new world. But so you got to go, right? You get, just like we talked about going to the open houses and whatever, go there. Like you get to that point, make that as part of your marketing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Part of your lead gen is that, like, get out and do it, because are you going to find people there that, you know, buy $3, $5, $10 million houses? Yeah, maybe. But are you going to find people that want to buy a 4 or 5, 600? Absolutely, all day long. And those people you'll connect with really easily because they're like, they kind of look up to you. Well, you own that car, you drive that. You must be, you do real estate. Like, all right, well, you must know what you're doing. You're driving that car. So yeah, I need to buy a house and my uncle needs to buy one. And you know, it just keeps going. Yeah. It's insane what it opens up for you.
I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But it's fun. And it's fun on top of it. So yeah.
All right, my man. Well, listen, I appreciate you.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you.
I enjoyed learning about a lot. And hopefully we'll do it again.
Good. Yeah. I'm glad I could share.
All right. Thanks, man. Cool. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey guys, quick interruption. If you are enjoying this content, all right, a quick favor from you guys. Just hit like or subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're on podcast, leave a positive review. I would greatly appreciate it. That helps us with our ratings, so there's more and more people out there can have access to what I'm trying to do. So thanks so much. I appreciate you, and going back to the show.